It's 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. It's Wednesday, March 13th, and you can see that wall of snow coming over the mountains towards Colorado.
Yes, Snowmageddon is coming.
Snow.
Yes.
Remember when it was called like a bomb snow, thunder bomb cyclone?
No, bomb cyclone.
Everything
that
terrible.
has to do with the temperature inversions and what happens in a specific weather event. Is a bomb cyclone. Yeah, that's.
I just think you just throw scary names at it and make it.
Yeah, you could. I think we should
The
go
volcano
with
snow avalanche
with
cyclone.
Storm names. We should go scarier, rather than just regular names. We could, because who's afraid of Hurricane Leslie? Yeah,
right.
Nobody's afraid of that. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you have like a Hurricane Skeletor. You might have something.
Yes,
there
we
go.
go.
So much more fun.
Brilliant.
See, I'm an idea guy. Yes.
Brilliant.
I'm not saying they're good ideas. I'm just saying I'm an idea guy.
We were on puppy watch this morning. Our Colorado Mountain Dog Evergreen. She went into labor last night, and my wife, who is a saint, by the way, I need to correct the record yesterday.
Yeah. What?
She asked me to do this.
Oh, good.
Because my wife serves basically as a midwife to this dog. We have an entire birthing unit set up in our garage.
Wow. Okay.
So I can't even park my car.
Yeah.
Tonight in the snow, my car will be outside.
Oh, good.
Because our dogs will have puppies. And I said yesterday that my wife serves as a wet nurse for the dog.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't really know the difference.
No.
And my wife was very quick to remind me that no, she is not a wet nurse to the puppies.
Oh, that's funny.
So she asked me to correct the record today.
Fair enough.
But we're on puppy watch. We're expecting 5 to 6 Colorado Mountain Dogs.
Jeez.
And of course, animals always give birth during the biggest storms of the year.
Yeah.
That is just what they do. They're like, this is perfect time for my owner to get out and tranche through the snow and help me with my offspring. So
how do the dogs do giving birth? Because sometimes that can be a little, medically.
It's intense. Yeah. It was kind of funny. Last time we do breed Colorado Mountain Dogs. These are beautiful dogs. They live outside. They're guardian livestock dogs. So they live outside with goats and sheep and chickens, and we sell them to ranches. So they go live on. They actually live on ranches. They're not like, Dad took little Fluffy to the ranch.
Yeah, which is interesting because we have a Kelpie, which is a small Australian version of the same thing.
Nice.
It looks different. Looks like a black lab, but the same thing. They're ranch dogs that live outside, and they take care of the herd. Yeah.
So they will live out, and they're great. They're a relatively new breed. They're only about 20 years old, and they're bred to be attentive guardian livestock dogs, but also super family friendly.
Yeah.
So they're not quite like German Shepherds. They can, they're roll over on their backs and get the belly rubs and all that fun stuff.
Now, for the listener, how big and what color are the coats as they grow? Isn't it shaggy? Is it short hair? I mean, describe the dog.
They look like Great Pyrenees. They're about 90 pounds. They're big dogs.
Okay. And
so if they stand on their hind legs, they're as tall as I am, and I'm 5'10", 5'11".
Cool. Nice.
So they get big, and they're big, white, fluffy dogs. So like Great Pyrenees.
So do they need, what's the coat care like? What's it like as far as taking care?
It's a lot of brushing.
A lot of brushing?
Super thick, because they live outside.
Yeah.
Even when it's like freezing, they don't care.
Yeah.
Their coat's so thick, they're just happy. They're rolling around in the snow.
Now, if the listener is interested in the Colorado Mountain Dog, are there any medical or genetic problems that some of them have, much like where you have with the Labradors, hip dysplasia in certain branches of the family tree there?
My wife does all this. She does genetic testing on them to make sure we don't pass on any genetic issues. And I can't remember what they are right now. It's crazy. She sends them. They all get genetic tested, and they're sent to the University of California, Davis, where they get tested there, and then you get the results back. I should have her on because she's the real pro about this.
That'd be fun. Maybe after the birthing, we can talk about it.
Yeah, and we were thinking of getting our wives on the show more frequently.
Speaking
of Wednesdays, today would have been that day.
Is it really Wednesday? This is ridiculous. I mean, because the stupid thing where we all decide over the weekend, let's pretend it's a different time.
Right.
As if we're all in 5th grade again. It screws me up. Just ridiculous.
I will post a picture of Evergreen on my Twitter account.
Oh, cool.
And so you can see her there. But she's, it's Evergreen and the dad is Ace.
Nice.
And they live together, and they're going to have some puppies today.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And we have a camera.
All about it.
We have a cam that I can check in.
And
watch. My wife got up every hour last night to check on the dog.
We had a cat that we adopted. She was a stray in college, and then my wife's roommate let the Cat out because she was flirting with the baseball players down the hall at the apartment complex. Cat disappeared for 3 days, came back preggers. Yeah. And that was an interesting thing because we had, they said, oh, no, she needs to be quiet and places away from it. And you got to have her. So we got a box and we had a little birthing box we put into a dark closet. And then when it was time to have the babies, she made a lot of noise, came out, sat in front of us and said, watch this. I'm going, wait, pardon me? I mean, everything we was read.
That's hilarious. They're going to go private.
They need private. Don't do it. And she literally makes and waddles out in front of us, lays down and goes, all right, we're doing this right now. Like, okay.
So and by the way, anytime you say we breed dogs, you get the crazy puppy mill considerations. And I used to consult with the Humane Society of the United States. So I definitely know what bad puppy mills are. This is a really great operation. The dogs are treated really well.
You don't have enough dogs nor enough time to make it a puppy mill operation. That's the thing. Right. There's so many other things going around, and you need to have enough dogs to have the multiple breeding and the multiple clutches.
And they all live in cages, and and they're sold off the minute they're born.
This isn't it. These are dogs that are loved, and then they are raised as puppies. And it's like if anybody else, it's as if your neighbor down the street bred their what are they little Chihuahuas or the Pomeranians. That's what I'm thinking of, little puffballs. Yeah. So I've got a friend that they've got Poms, and they do that. They breed them. They've got 2 of them, and they sell them. But it's just every season they have puppies, and then they sell them off. That's it. Yeah.
And these are working dogs that go to ranches all over Montana. We have people come from Montana, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming. Grab them and they go up and live pretty great lives.
God, see, I'd be telling you, that's it. We got to talk about a Colorado Mountain Dog, but it's that coat.
Yeah,
ooh,
super
the grooming.
Thick.
That's why you got to go out. Yeah, that's why it's an outside dog, inside dog. Yeah, and because the issue would be is if I brought a great Colorado Mountain Dog into my home, this guy right here is doing all the grooming and vacuuming all the hair up. I mean, my wife, yes, of course, she's going to help out on that one, but she's going to look at me and go, this was your idea.
Yeah,
exactly. And she would have a point, and I would be responsible.
Speaking of other news, let's check it on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning.
Speaking of dogs, here's Blake. 40. Good morning, guys. 40 with some drizzle in places. Cloudy, expecting highs in the low 50s with rain before the winter storm moves in tonight. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, President Biden and former President Trump locked up their respective parties' nomination last night.
Hello, everyone. It's your favorite president speaking to you on a really great day of victory. And tonight, the Republican National Committee has just declared us the official nominee, which is a big deal. But most importantly, we now have to go into victory because our country's in serious trouble. We have millions and millions of people flowing in. We have no respect on the world stage. What we say doesn't mean a thing anymore.
Well, the White House says it's time to move on from Robert Hur's report on President Biden's handling of classified documents. The hearing Tuesday showed the 2-tiered system of justice, one for Donald Trump and one for everyone else. Hur said, by the way, that's H-U-R, not a pronoun, H-E-R. Hur said he did not exonerate him, meaning Biden. Here's Jim Jordan.
He knew the rules. He broke them because he was writing a book. And you further say, and he began meeting with the ghostwriter while he was still vice president. There's the motive. Mr. Hur, how much did President Biden get paid for his book?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure if that information appears in the report.
It sure does. There's a dollar amount in there. You remember?
I don't. It may be $8 million.
$8 million. Joe Biden had 8 million reasons to break the rules, took classified information and shared it with the guy who was writing the book.
So President Biden is either too old and incompetent or too corrupt. And many believe Hur's report is designed to force Biden out through media coverage originated by the likes of maybe another Democratic camp seeking another candidate like possibly Gavin Newsom of California. Stay tuned. But what about Vice President Kamala Harris?
Let us fight for the promise of America. And you know what? When we fight, we win!
I am going to spend the next minute screaming.
The vice president in Denver, and she was throwing out some doozies on Tuesday on the border issue.
The Republican leadership in Congress will not put it up for a vote. And you know why?
Because Donald Trump told them not to. Because it is clear that while we want to fix a problem, they want to run on a problem because they got nothing else to run on.
Yeah, nothing like high crime, homelessness, dirty cities, drugs, fentanyl, sex trafficking, cost of living, woke ideology, corrupting schools and our military, foreign wars, trying to jail political opponents, political prosecutions. Nothing. Colorado's Ken Buck
that was
says,
amazing, Blake.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
You know, I've been thinking about that one. Colorado's Ken Buck says he will leave Congress before the end of his term at the end of next week, still searching for the former Ken Buck. A bill to make the Colorado DMV digital is advancing. A House committee approved legislation to allow notifications for things like vehicle registration and license plate renewals to be sent electronically. There's a morning bill this morning in Capitol Hill in DC on the TikTok situation. Will it pass? We'll find that out. And Robert Kennedy Jr. considering Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers as his running mate as an independent candidate for president. He told that to the New York Times. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. See the Nuggets going for 4 straight tonight. They take on the Heat on the road. The Avs defeated the Flames 6-2. And CSU this afternoon, they take on San Jose State in the Mountain West Conference Basketball Tournament. 35 in Parker, 34 in Boulder, 40 in Denver, and the two dogs, Jeff and Bill, continue on hump day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today. Want to take your favorite radio station
with all the news that happened yesterday?
Because
we're going to dive into Ken Buck and the Hur report and TikTok and all that stuff on today's show. But
again, does it matter? I mean, what's she going to do? For me, she's just such a figurehead that I don't care that she's here. What's she going to do?
I love that audio where she comes in and is like, the Republicans don't care about the border. I worked on the border.
No, don't
never
do
even
that.
visited the border.
She did eventually visit the border, but it was months
once?
late. Yeah, I think it was once or twice. But even then, it was months too late. And the thing for me on that one was that was an easy layup for her because it was a narrative on Republican media. How difficult is it to go down there and do the shake hands, take the pictures? Oh, I'm concerned.
Right.
I mean, that would have been real easy. That is an unforced error by the Biden administration. I understand they didn't want to let conservative media tell them what they needed to do and what was important. However, they should have seen it strategically, and it would have been super, super easy to take that off of the plate.
I don't think they believed it was going to be that big of a problem.
Oh, I don't think so either. Yeah. I didn't think they believed at all it was going to be that big of a problem at all. Yeah. I have a feeling they didn't think that the numbers were going to be there and you weren't going to see the impacts that you do in these sanctuary cities, which I appreciate Governor Abbott and others doing that. Although there is some question on the money spent. That's the only thing that I've got. I understand the point. Yeah, because I know that Texas has spent nearly, I want to say last time it was over $1.5 million so far to bus them, which again, the argument being
$1.5 million compared to 180.
Yeah. Well, the issue
Johnston's spending.
Well, no, but the issue, but Johnston's talking about cutting 60 because of the migrants, and so. But the idea is being, if you had the money to spend to move them, did you have the money to take care of them? That's the issue. Is you're moving them because we can't take care of them. But if you have the money at that number to move them, then you may have extra money to take care of them. I don't think it's a wrong thing for Abbott to do, but it does because of the amount of movement and the amount of money to spend does harm.
Seems like that
does harm his narrative a little bit.
It seems like it would save money to bust him out of here. I want to get into Ken Buck's resignation coming next week, because this is going to be a really big deal for Congressional District 4. Here's Ken on CNN shortly after announcing his resignation.
My colleague Melanie Zanona is reporting that there is such tension among House Republicans that many of them aren't even going to a retreat that's going to happen at the end of this week. Is that tension part of why you're leaving so abruptly?
I think this place is dysfunctional. For example, I am the number 3rd ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. I haven't even asked my questions yet. 40, 50 people have gone before me.
But that could be personal.
It could be personal, but a lot of this is personal. That's the problem. Instead of having decorum, instead of operating in a professional manner, this place has just evolved into this bickering and nonsense, and not really doing the job for the American people.
So that's Ken Buck. I mean, really done with Congress. He's leaving early. This is from Politico. Buck announces he will leave Congress early, further driving down the GOP majority. I think they're down to like 1 or 2 votes at this point.
It'll be a single vote if after Ken leaves.
After he's done?
1 vote. Yeah.
Jeez.
Which then makes the Bobert thing interesting.
So Republican Rep. Ken Buck announced Tuesday that he will leave the House on March 22nd, moving up his existing retirement plans. Buck's decision will leave Republicans with a paltry 218 seats in the chamber compared to the Democrats' 213, furthering Speaker Mike Johnson's constant struggle to herd the House GOP and pass any legislation through regular order. Republicans can still only afford to lose 2 votes on any bill with united Democratic opposition, assuming full attendance. Speaker Mike Johnson told reporters Tuesday that he didn't know about Buck's departure planned shortly after the announcement, noting he is looking forward to talking to the Colorado Republican. A Buck spokesperson told Politico that Buck called Johnson about 30 minutes before the announcement went live and left a voicemail. Yeah, because that's what the Speaker of the House is doing, constantly checking his voicemail. The move caught many of Buck's GOP colleagues by surprise. So this is going to have a lot of implications for the primary. How and why? So a lot of questions around the process that happens now that Ken Buck is out. Does the governor appoint somebody? Is there a special process that they appoint somebody?
Is it an empty seat because we're so close to an election? Do they leave it empty and just, the Republicans have to deal with it? What do we do?
So within a certain amount of time, now this is a federal constitutional issue. Within a certain amount of time, the governor has to appoint a special election.
I think the top limit is 100 days.
Right.
I think that's the upper limit.
80 and 100 days. Yep. So what will happen is the Republican Central Committee and the Democrat Central Committee will pick who is going to be the nominee in this special election. So there's not going to be a primary versus special election. It's going to be picked by party insiders. That will then go to a special election, which they think is going to happen on the same day as the primary. So if you're a CD4 voter, like I am, I live out in Elbert County, I'm going to get 2 ballots for Congressional District 4. One of them is going to be for a pick between, it could be Jerry Sonnenberg, it could be Deborah Flora, it could be anybody that it could be anybody that's not even running in the primary.
Yeah.
So sometimes when a congressman dies, their wife will step up.
Yeah.
And this happened. My wife used to work for Mary Bono Mack.
Yeah.
Who was Sonny Bono's wife. And when you remember when Sonny died in the skiing accident in Aspen, his wife was appointed and she became a congresswoman, and my wife used to work for her.
That's weird, isn't it, though? That we do that sometimes, where we take the wives and put them in and go, as if, what sort of thing, because you married this person, makes them qualified?
Makes you qualify.
I mean, here's the idea.
Okay. Time conversations.
Yeah. So Jeff, you or listener, you are headed into surgery. The anesthesiologist comes in and goes, "Oh yeah, I know this is a tough surgery, but your surgeon's sick. However, his wife's here. We're going." You're like, "Wait, hang on. I got some questions here."
Hold on.
I mean, it'd be like the idea. Okay, you're getting on a flight. You're going from here to DC, and the air attendant goes on and go, Hello, welcome passengers. Get some bad news today. The pilot for our flight today, she is desperately ill, but it's okay. Her husband has showed up instead. Alrighty, we are now taxiing. You're like, wait, no. Can I get off now?
Right.
Why do we sit there and say, no, obviously this person can make the rules for us?
It's because
so
we
silly.
look. Really, a member of Congress doesn't have that much power. I mean, compared to a surgeon or to a pilot, you're one of 435.
Fair point, my friend.
I as a Politico, can maybe name 10 members of Congress.
Yeah.
There's still another 425. I have no idea
That's
who
a great
they are.
point. That is a good point.
So there'll be an appointment that takes place within the parties, and then there will be a special election that will likely be on the same day as the primary, which
That's
will
confusing.
be for determining the Republican in the November election.
And that's not going to confuse anybody at all.
Oh, my goodness. So why do you think he did this? Well, Steve Bannon had some thoughts on it. And here's Steve Bannon on Ken Buck stepping down. He thinks Ken was doing this for one of his colleagues, and it wasn't in a nice way.
So Ken Buck earlier today announced he's resigning effective next week. It's kind of, I think, to screw Lauren Bobert, because as a sitting congressman, I don't think she can run in a special election. There has to be a special election on Colorado. So that will jack the name recognition of her opponents. And one of those will run as an incumbent. So this is all, we'll go through all.
So that's, Steve Bannon thinks he's doing this to really get after and give it to Lauren.
What do you think about that? Do you think this is strategic for that?
Partially. Okay, so I know Ken pretty well, and I was there, helped him with his campaigns back when I ran a digital ad agency, built his website, did all of his digital ads and stuff like that. Spent quite a bit of time with him. It was kind of a seasonal thing where Ken would call and say, "I'm done with Congress." He would get really frustrated. This has been going on for probably 6 years now. You get a call and he'd go, "Jeff, I'm done with this place. I can't deal with it. I can't get anything done. It's so dysfunctional." He was frustrated going back to his very first days there when John Boehner was in control. And he wouldn't play the game the way John Boehner wanted. And so he didn't get the committee appointments that he wanted. And so Ken was, I would say, frustrated with the way Congress operated from the day he got there. He even wrote a book about this, Draining the Swamp. He launched that at the Centennial Institute. He was always president at the Western Conservative Summit, would bring in colleagues. I have tremendous respect for Ken Buck. He's a great friend, but he has had enough of that place, and that's what's driving him to leave.
I can agree with that, because I've always talked to lawmakers, and I've had some conversations with people looking at running for both Senate and for House. I said that's a different race, because if you're walking down the hall with 5 of your fellow senators, you're a significant mover inside of the Senate. You walk down the hall with 5 of your fellow representatives, you don't mean anything.
Knows.
Nobody cares. You can't do a
exactly
thing.
Right, Bill.
Yeah, and I think that's the frustration. I do think that there is some strategery here involved in Buck forcing Bobert to make a very difficult decision.
Yes.
But I don't agree with Bannon saying that he's trying to screw Bobert. And I think, and I will talk about it in a little bit, because I think it has to do with the timing of his announcement. Fundamentally, gives her some space that he didn't have to give her.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about it.
That's true. That's true. So here's the question I want to hear from listeners here on 710 KNUS. Who should the Republicans appoint to run in this race for that small period? Okay.
That's interesting.
So if they get elected in June, I think the primary is like June 25th. If they get elected in June, they will be a sitting congressperson and technically be the incumbent from June until November.
And that helps name recognition, and you know how valuable it is to run as an incumbent. And let's remember, just about 18 months ago, maybe less, Gavin Newsom had to make an appointment in California. And of all the people that were running for the office at that time, he didn't appoint any of them because he didn't want any of them to have the benefit of incumbency. So that was, but again, that was his argument. And so I think it's interesting now, and it's, again, different race, different area, but I think it's interesting.
And Republicans in Colorado are not that savvy. They will go, "No, this is the guy. We want to get him in." I guarantee you right now, yesterday, Sonnenberg's campaign, Flores' campaign, Holtorf's campaign, Bobert's were calling everybody. Like everything stopped and was Central Committee call time. Like we want to be the person to do that.
How do you make that argument? Just because you've been in on those type of things. It's just something that popped in my head. How do you make that call? What goes on in that conversation? Because you can't be too overt about it and be too pushy.
No, you want to be direct.
Really? Okay, tell me. How do you tell me? Because that's what I want to know is from behind the scenes. We want to pull the curtain so myself and the listener can get an idea about what those calls are like.
There's deals made. There's deals made.
Yeah, like what? Tell me.
I'll go back to Ken Buck, Cory Gardner deal.
Okay, cool.
Remember that?
Yeah.
You remember when Ken would not get out of that primary for Senate unless Cory Gardner was going to endorse him for Congressional District 4. So those types of deals, just human nature, take place.
Makes sense.
I'll step this way if you are willing to go here. Bill Armstrong was brilliant for this for years. He would get 2-3 guys in a room and go, okay, I think you should do this. You run for county commissioner, you run for Congressional District 4. Let's do 3 terms there. Then you'll step up. You'll be the natural guy to do that. And, so sometimes it's saved. Actually, those types of conversations can save a lot more of vitriol from developing.
Yeah. So you're saying that some careful consideration, some planning and working as a team actually helped get people elected.
Could you imagine that?
Weird. That is very strange.
Could you imagine that?
Because I keep thinking about, I was just hearing a rumor on a side note that Justin Fields may be headed to our friends, the Raiders in Vegas. From Chicago, that they're looking at making that trade. And it just, when you're talking about that, when you're Bill Armstrong, I envision a quarterback or a coach talking about this is what we need to do. Not everybody, like when you're on the playground, you're in middle school and you're playing football, during recess, everybody goes long. Not everybody can go long. There got to be different types of routes. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Right, that's the idea. That's exactly we can't all go long.
That's good, Bill. Here's a good text message. Perry Buck would be a great placeholder.
Oh.
I adore Perry.
Interesting.
I've known Perry. That's Ken's ex-wife. She was she might still be a county commissioner. She was a state house member, but she is like a little hummingbird, and she's got so much energy.
I think there is some animosity inside the district right now towards Ken. Would the last name of Buck be more of a detriment, almost like the idea of the last name of a Kennedy or a Bush or even a Gore or a Clinton? Would it hurt in that district and that district alone right now? I don't know.
True. Very true. I'd love to hear from you. Who do you think would be great? Joan, thanks for the text. Text us on the 710 KNUS app or give us a call 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Let us know who should eventually hold that seat, so could win the primary on June 25th, but who should also be appointed as the Republican. It gets confusing. Believe me, it's confusing in my head too. Get appointed to be the Republican nominee and likely the victor to hold that office from June 25th until November when the general election takes place.
And was this a move to basically hurt Bobert?
Yeah.
Do you believe this strategically was meant to hurt Bobert? And if so, I want to hear why.
I'll tell you what I think Ken Buck is really doing here.
Ooh, let's do that after the break. I'm really curious about that.
When we return, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. President Biden and former President Trump have become their party's official nominees after coming out on top in the latest round of primaries. Both candidates focused their attention on the swing state of Georgia, which looms large in November's general election. Ira Spitzer reports.
Both Donald Trump and Joe Biden visited Georgia in advance of the primary election, a sign that for both men, this is an important prize in November's general election. It's a state that Biden won by just 12,000 votes in 2020, and a state in which Trump is facing legal charges stemming from his refusal to accept Georgia's election results. Trump is seeking to contain any fallout from that dispute, which divided Georgia Republicans. And for President Biden, convincing the state's Democrats to turn out in November is going to be crucial, given what will likely be a very close election.
Concerns are growing about the worsening security situation in Haiti after the Prime Minister was forced to resign to avoid a civil war. The Caribbean country was already the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, and there are warnings of a lack of food and medical supplies as access to Haiti remains mostly cut off. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
All right, good morning. We're talking Ken Buck stepping down. I'm going to get to you why I think he really did this in just a second. But let's check in with Blake Olson on the news. What are you working on, my man?
Well, you know what? I want to hear that, by the way. I'm anxious to hear that. Working on one of the stories, illegal immigrant hotel shelters. One of those shelters is set to close this week. We'll discuss that. Major drug bust in Denver, 13 people in custody. Hopefully they will remain in jail.
Was this at a needle injection site? I thought we're just allowing people to do drugs. We're busting
Right,
people.
exactly. Wait a
What's
minute,
going on in the state?
Why do you have to hide it?
Right.
You just what are they doing? Kamala Harris always gives great sound bites. She was in town, so we'll hear one of those coming up at the top of the hour. That and much more right here. Back to you.
Very good. Thanks. So Ken Buck's not going quietly. Here's Ken Buck on Mike Johnson.
This place just keeps going downhill, and I don't need to spend my time here. We've taken impeachment and we've made it a social media issue as opposed to a constitutional concept. Mike Johnson's ability to talk me into staying here is going to be about as successful as his ability into talking me into unconstitutional impeachments.
He is on fire.
Yeah, he is.
He is not leaving quietly.
It's what we called on the "I'm out of here" syndrome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's basically it. It's the Jerry Maguire thing where he's leaving and he's just like, yeah, that's what he's doing. He's Jerry Maguiring this thing.
So Ken has been frustrated with Congress since essentially the day he got there. I think he misunderstood the role and your ability to kind of pick pet projects and run them through Congress. So when you get elected Congress, you're one of 435. You're not that special.
No,
you're just not.
Yeah.
And
you're basically a member of your high school graduating class. I mean, again, many classes bigger, smaller, but that's the idea. That'll give you a really good concept of your senior high school class. That's what you're talking about. You're one of them.
And you're going to go up against people that play the DC game a lot better than you do. What do I mean by the DC game? They run around collecting checks from lobbyists, right? They're like, okay, this is the way it works. I'm going to fundraise. I'm going to get good appointments to the committees. I'm going to be a mover and shaker in this town. Ken never wanted to play that game. In fact,
Bob Mendez.
Right.
What can go back?
Gold bars in your closet.
Yes. And I love the fact that the nickname now, Gold Bars Bob. That's his nickname now. But that's an example.
I still remember. This is so funny. I remember in my head, and it's like seared, and I can't get it out.
Yeah.
Ted Kennedy stumping for Bob Menendez in 2006, the first time he ran for office, and Ted Kennedy going, we got to elect Bob Menendez.
That is fantastic.
It always just so whenever anybody talks about Bob Menendez, in my head I hear Ted Kennedy go Bob Menendez, like it's almost like a little dirt bike. Menendez. Now I'm gonna hear it. Right.
Thank you.
I'll find that clip. We'll play it tomorrow. Great. Bob Menendez. Okay,
that's great.
So you show up in Washington, D.C. You think you've got this great gig. You find out that there's people that play the game a lot better than you. They have a lot more power. They're a lot more influential at cocktail parties and receptions and stuff like that. So you can then go another route, which is you pick something that's really passionate to you, that's not really of huge importance, but it's something you can drive an agenda forward. And the example I use on this is Charlie Wilson and Charlie Wilson's war. Right? Back then, nobody cared about Afghanistan and funding rockets to Afghanistan to take on the Russians and stuff. But it was a little pet project, and he would work his way through all the different offices and build a coalition and find the funding and kind of slip little things into bills and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of guys do that around religious freedom issues. So like the way Christians are treated in North Korea, for instance, or the way Christians are treated in India. And you have a convening power with Congress. So you can host events and you can bring speakers, and a member of Congress can bring in a speaker from India about persecution of Christians.
Yeah. And this for someone that is in an office environment, this is basically just those people in your office, and it's branding. Someone has a particular brand, you kind of lean into it. And so Jeff's talking about they're choosing their brand, but in your office, there's someone that always plans the parties. There's someone that always circulates the birthday card. There's someone that remembers whose anniversary it is. There's someone that helps out with planning some of the big events. And then there's also someone that helps do those big presentations. People there's someone in the office that if you're like, oh man, I need help with this PowerPoint, there's someone else you can lean on because they have a particular set of skills that they've leaned into. So it's an individual branding thing where you're trying to say, this is who I am. So it establishes your credibility at doing this outside of just being one member of the senior class.
Right.
Yeah. You're a member of the chess club. You're a member of the theater group. You're a member of 4-H, whatever it is. Yeah,
exactly. And Ken never really found that. I remember messaging him one time, because we were talking about me possibly taking a role with him. And I asked him, like, what's your office going to be about? What are we going to do? What comes to mind is Joe Pitts, who used to be from Pennsylvania. He was all about William Wilberforce and modern day slavery. So that was, I'm going to use my convening power to address modern day slavery issues. And I'm going to get on committees and I'm going to do all my basic constituent work. You can't forget that, but I'm going to pick these pet projects. And do it. Ken never really did that either. So Ken's not going to play the game in DC. He's not going to run around and collect the lobbyist checks and try to fundraise for the party and get big appointments to committees. And then he didn't pick pet projects to do with his office either. So I think he just kind of felt like he wasn't being used well, like his gifts and his talents. And he was frustrated by the direction of the party. I think that's a big component to it. And then he did find his place.
So you're kind of seeing the Ken Bucks, Russell Wilson. I'm sorry. It just popped in my head.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, continue. Yeah.
But Ken found his place, and his place is criticizing Republicans on CNN.
Nicely done. Now, the thing for me is I just hope that if Ken is going to go to CNN, that they're the ones that are at the biggest check. Because then I got no issues with you at all. If you took the biggest paycheck and you end up on what we would consider to be a liberal outlet, high five. I got no problem with that. If you take less money to go to liberal outlet, then I got an issue at that point. But
make him pay you well.
If you are going with the capitalist idea that, hey, I would love to talk to all my friends on Fox News, but these people over here are paying me more. See ya. Go right ahead, and I'm going to pat you on the back while you walk out the door because good job. You got the most money. That's kind of the goal in this game. And we've talked about this, that this is strategically very smart for Ken based on negotiation because his value is at its peak right now. Yep.
That's
going into that election cycle. He will never have more value than when he's just leaving Congress, going into an election cycle for his seat. There's never a time he's going to have more value for that check than right now.
He is at peak value. And when you're a member of Congress, you can't get paid to speak. You can't get paid to be on television, none of that stuff. So Ken knows he's going to be done in November. We're going into an election cycle where they're going to love having one of the few Republicans that didn't vote to impeach Mayorkas that, kind of has a personal relationship with Liz Cheney, those types of things. And
in the last 6 months has been establishing a personal rogue or maverick brand, not breaking away from the party, not following, doing things that are somewhat unexpected. It makes a lot of sense.
Yep. So that's why he did it. He's going to collect checks. I don't blame him for it. He was frustrated. He never really found a home in Congress. He didn't want to play the game. Now he found somebody that really values him, will write big checks, will give him a voice that he's always wanted. And he's going to get to do that all the way through November. What will happen after November? Who knows? He's an attorney with a great background. He could go to a law firm. He could go to Brownstein. He could go do any of that stuff. Yeah. So the doors will open.
I've heard they pay lobbyists 12 too.
Yeah,
I don't know personally. I would like to know personally.
I do know,
but I do not.
I don't know
personally.
I never got a check, but I know how much they pay.
I would like to.
Not bad.
Yeah.
So that's what happened here. Now, is Ken doing this to go after Lauren Bobert?
That's the big question.
I don't think that's the primary reason.
Okay.
By any means, but it sure is some nice icing on the cake as he heads out the door.
Why do you think that? Now tell me strategically, because you've been inside this.
I don't think he and Lauren are that close. I think that type of Republican that Lauren Bobert is, the fighting Republican, the big media driver.
Yeah.
It's just not the type of person Ken is. And I think he holds a little bit of disdain that the party's gone that way, the Matt Gaetz, the MTG, the Lauren Bobert direction. I don't mind it. I love the fighting side of it. But I think Ken, who still has a foot in kind of the old school Mitt Romney, John McCain Republican camp, doesn't like the way that party's gone. You heard that when he talked about Mike Johnson and what's happened with the impeachments down there and the Hur hearing yesterday, which we're going to get into in a second. But I don't think he like personally hates Lauren.
Yeah.
I just don't think he likes that type of Republican, and so it's a little bit of an icing on the cake that he can get out and
I think
make
you're
life
absolutely
a little
right.
bit harder.
I think you're right that he has identified that group of Republicans, and rather than you call them fighting Republicans, I call them Instagram Republicans because they like this thing, the phone. They think that the phone equates to the voters, and that's what they lean into. And I think that Ken has an issue with that group, and he also, I believe, just a personal belief, that he views them as kind of the agitators that have prevented certain things from moving forward well, like the idea of moving out Speaker McCarthy because of what Gates did. And that type of machination that didn't do anything, functionally didn't help them govern, but made them look more chaotic.
But what's so ironic about that is when Ken showed up in D.C., he was that guy.
Yeah. Yep.
He refused to play the game that John Boehner wanted him to. He got kicked off all the committees, and then he's got an AR-15 in his office. And I'm here to stand for the people, CD4. I think that's why people are just kind of bummed out with the way this all finished.
I think part of it is that that he was part of the Tea Party caucus.
Yeah,
and the Tea Party caucus has sort of morphed or rebranded itself into that Freedom Caucus.
Yeah,
but they're different.
Very fair.
Yeah, they're different though. What the Tea Party was doing, what the Freedom Caucus is doing, are different functionally, and what they say is important to them is a little bit different. And I think that's what Ken is seeing, and he's looking at this, going, "I came here to be this, and now you guys think this is the way to get the revolution started and the changes." I do disagree with people who think that he's doing this specifically aimed at Bobert.
Yeah,
I don't think he's taking aim there.
Yeah, I don't think he's purposely aiming that at Lauren Bobert. We're going to get to your calls and texts. Here's what I want to hear from you. Who should the Republican Party choose to represent Republicans in the special election? Who do you think should hold that seat between June 25th and the actual election in November? And then I guess the swearing in, which takes place in January. Who should hold that seat? Should it be Lauren Bobert? Should Lauren resign in CD3 so she could possibly get the appointment in CD4 and then she becomes the incumbent? Is that what you would like to see? Or do you pick someone more like a Jerry Sonnenberg, a Deborah Flora, a Mike Lynch, a Richard Holtorf, Ted Harvey?
Do what Joan did and go outside the established candidates and make it even more difficult.
Perry Buck.
Yeah, that's an interesting. It's an interesting idea.
We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
right, let's get to You Choose the News, Bill.
Yes, sir. It is that time of the morning where we get to play everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. You Choose the News. We have scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find really, really dumb stories about us humans to play this fake radio news game after giving them even more ridiculous headlines. Why? Guys, they really do pay us to do this. We're on the clock. We get paid for that. I don't know. I'm as surprised as you are. I think it's probably because they don't know we're doing it. So, all righty. Blake Olson from the newsroom is also joining us. Gentlemen, here are your choices this morning. Headline number 1, spring break alternative. Headline number 2, what's in your pants? Headline number 3, who needs science? And headline number 4, you could also light it on fire. All righty, Jeff, your choice, sir.
Light things on fire.
You want to light something on fire? All righty. Well, if you have a giant pile of money, you could go to the Colonial Room at the Drake Oak Brook, or you could just light it on fire. Because if you have a disposable $1,800, Drake Oak Brooks now has a soup for you. Yes, I said soup for $1,800.
And you can flambe?
Yeah, no, it is the bookbinder soup. It was made back early in the 1800s from a proprietary recipe, but this one goes to the next level. The executive chef is adding Louis VIII cognac and fresh red snapper that is flown in per order from the Gulf of Mexico.
Whoa.
It is then garnished with caviar and gold flakes, and they're going to charge you $1,800 for it. And just a reminder, it's still soup.
They don't even light it on fire.
No,
so you're
don't.
burning the money for $1,800 worth of soup.
Exactly. Yep,
gotcha.
for soup. And again, it's soup. I don't know. My brother loves soup. I like soup too.
It's a variety of turtle soup. I've never even heard of bookbinder soup.
I know, but they're charging me $1,800 for it. It's just stupid. Alrighty. Story number 2. Spring break alternative. What's in your pants or who needs science?
Spring break.
Spring break alternative. Now, this is a very exciting thing for parents in case you're looking for something to do with the kids over spring break. The Museum of the American Revolution has a packed lineup of family-friendly activities. And unfortunately, they've named it Spring Break at the Museum. And that's a problem because imagine you're a little child and your parents come to you and go, "Hey, Jeff, we have a wonderful thing for you. This summer, we're going to the Spring Break at the museum." And in your head, you're going, "You two really hate me, don't you? You really hate me." Like, hey, Mom and Dad, I got a better idea. How about when we go to the museum, you also buy me one of those T-shirts that said, "I spent spring break at the museum so my friends can beat me up when I get home."
Night of the Museum kind of changed me on museums, though, man. You can have quite a party there with
that's only when nobody else is around. This is the problem. Again, I love the idea that they're doing it, but the spring break at the museum, you're like, oh, that's not going to go over well.
Yeah, you have teenagers. I still have little kids. Yeah. I think they could get excited about that.
Ask them and see. Yeah. Say, Disneyland, spring break at the museum. What do we got?
Yeah, fair point. Fair point.
Final choice this morning, Blake Olson from the newsroom. Your stories are what's in your pants or who needs science. Choose carefully.
Let's go with what's in your pants.
And that's why I love you. What's in your pants? Well, we've known that recently Boeing has had some problems with their airplanes. Things not going so well. And yet again, it happened on a flight recently from Australia to New Zealand. According to Boeing, a technical event during the flight caused a strong movement. A strong movement. What exactly is a strong movement when we're talking about aircraft? Because it could be wind. It could be, hey, we're going to plunge to the ground in a giant fireball while screaming. Both of those would qualify. What do they mean by strong movement? Because I'm just saying, I'm in a Boeing and the plane starts going, I'm making a strong movement in my pants. I'm just right there. I just don't know what's happening. How is this possible? How can you be allowed an actual company to go, well, the problem was a strong movement? We need to have a meeting. This is just ridiculous. Yeah. Well, thank you, Blake. We'll talk to you in a second. That is the end of You Choose the News. As always, I am a giant loser, and Jeff and Blake are the big winners today. But this is obviously not sponsored by Rollout Shelves. They are a reputable company that would never be associated with silliness like this. They can come to your home for a free estimate. You can call them today. Organizing your kitchen, your bath, those spaces in your house. RollTheMoutShelves.com. Don't tell them about us, though, and what we're doing. Okay? It's a secret. Appreciate it. Back to you, Jeff.
All right. We're going to cover the Hur testimony in the top of the 7 o'clock hour. You're not going to want to miss that. Did that change your perspective on Trump and declassified documents? You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
All right, 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. Enjoy the not snow you have, because in a few hours that's going to start, and it ain't going to stop until Friday morning. So it's going to be quite a bit. They're expecting, 12, 18, maybe even 2 feet of snow in some places.
Yeah.
So
I've heard the weather forecast says that we're expecting 12 to 18 inches, but we might only get 5 to 3.
If it rains.
In the weather business, that's called the Stephen Tubbs. I love you, Stephen. Just had to throw it out there for you. I love you, but I had to do that one. I love you so much, though.
It will get down to the temperatures and how much it rains and all that stuff, but it's going to be a wet one here. It's one of those March snowstorms. So
it is. We're already preparing
all the kids out there really hoping we get some snow days.
Yeah, all my kids are ignoring their homework and not studying for any tests. They're anticipating it already, doing their work. Nice job, kids.
We're going to get to Blake Olson with the news in just a second. I want to set up what we're going to be talking about in this hour, which is the Biden-Hur interview and a hearing that took place yesterday about the Hur report. Robert Hur put together a report about Biden and classified documents and where they were found. You remember this? This was about a month ago that report was released. Well, he was on Capitol Hill yesterday to testify. And as you can imagine, this was all about politics and nothing to do with the actual report. I'm going to give you a quick overview here.
You find in your report that the elements of a federal criminal violation are met, but then you apply this senile cooperator theory.
I need to disagree with at least one thing that you said, which is that I found that all of the elements were met.
Did you find that the president was senile?
I did not. That conclusion does not appear in my report, Congressman.
You felt, though, that the president's memory or lack thereof was a critical reason to decline prosecution.
You got the fact that he had classified material in his possession and control in multiple settings for multiple years, that he told others he was aware of this, and that he shared that material with others. The mind boggles at what beyond reasonable doubt would actually mean.
In this case, did you reach a conclusion that this man was outright innocent?
That conclusion is not reflected in my report.
We conclude that no criminal charges are warranted in this matter. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's the bottom line of this report. Am I correct?
That is the first sentence.
It's the first sentence and the bottom line.
He knows he's got classified docs. He's looking at this. He can't read it. He's giving this to somebody he knows has no security clearance. So he says, hey, read this, but be careful. It might be classified. That warning to be careful because it may be classified, that indicates guilty knowledge.
The evidence, if presented at trial alongside potential defense arguments, would not probably result in a conviction at trial.
Well, that's one of the points you make, is that President Biden is likely to be an elderly, sympathetic figure with a poor memory. But how does that bear on any individual's guilt or innocence?
You did not reach an idea that he had committed no wrong. You reached a conclusion that you would not prevail at trial and therefore did not take it forward. Is that correct?
Correct, Congressman.
You did not uncover enough evidence to recommend prosecution against the president. Is that correct?
That's my judgment.
And if you had found enough evidence to warrant prosecution, did you feel free, unrestrained, to make such a recommendation to the Attorney General?
The investigative steps that we took were my own. The judgment was my own. And the words in the report are my own.
All right. So basically what happens, you heard it there. The Democrats go, well, you didn't find that he did anything so wrong that we need to prosecute him. And Republicans are going, but you didn't see that he was innocent, did you? And then Democrats go, this proves that what Donald Trump did was so much worse. We need to prosecute him.
Yeah.
And then Republicans go, well, this proved that Joe Biden is just as bad as Donald Trump, and therefore we shouldn't be prosecuting Donald Trump. And it was all a setup for the election coming up in November. That's all it was yesterday.
Did you get the feeling that many of those questions were just asked in that way so they could be turned into campaign ads?
That's exactly what they were done.
Okay. That's what I kept feeling the entire time. Like, you're really not curious about this. You're just trying to get certain phrases out there so they can be used in ads later on. That's all this is. And so it frustrates me because That we're pretending.
That you paid for that?
Well,
yes,
yeah,
taxpayers,
absolutely.
you paid for that
But we're also
yesterday.
pretending that we're investigating or do some real work. We're not.
No.
We're not. We're holding a pep
No,
rally.
not at all.
Yes, we're just holding a pep rally.
And
That's it.
every Democrat who showed up there knew the job they had to do, which was we need to downplay Joe Biden's incompetency or his collection of classified documents. We need to downplay that. And we need to upplay what Donald Trump did so it makes Donald Trump look way worse. And Republicans showed up doing the exact opposite. We need to downplay what Donald Trump did and compare it to what Joe Biden did. And we need to upplay how terrible Joe Biden and his classified documents were. And that's what the whole point was. All right. I want to get to your calls on this. And Brian, you're going to be up just next. Let's do the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning. I agree with you. Here we go. 39 and cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the lower 50s today before the winter storm rolls in. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Colorado Congressman Ken Buck says he will resign from the House by the end of next week. The news comes a few months after Buck announced he wouldn't be running for re-election. He called serving the people of Colorado's 4th district for the past 9 years an honor.
But a lot of this is personal. That's the problem. Instead of having decorum, instead of operating in a professional manner, this place has just evolved into this bickering and nonsense and not really doing the job for the American people.
Well, the city of Denver will close one of 6 illegal immigrant hotel shelters this week. City officials say the number of people living in the shelters is continuing to go down, and there are only 6 people living in the shelter that's scheduled to close soon. 13 people are in custody following a major drug bust by the Northern Colorado Drug Task Force. Authorities say the suspects have ties to Mexico's notorious Sinaloa drug cartel. Detectives conducted search warrants at 11 homes and reportedly seized 8.5 pounds of fentanyl, 32 pounds of meth, 3 pounds of cocaine, 28 guns, and $42,000 in cash. 2 more suspects are still on the run. House Republicans voting on a bill that could ban TikTok in the U.S. this morning. And President Biden and former President Trump have officially locked up their party's nomination. The White House trying to sweep everything under the rug after Tuesday's hearing on the Biden's handling of classified documents. Conservatives say the 2-tiered system of justice is obvious. Vice President Kamala Harris in Denver Tuesday. I think there were 43 people there.
The former president has openly vowed to carry out, quote, and I'm quoting, the largest not democratic at all. That was a typo. The largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Blake, I'd heard that it was wonderful that Vice President Harris took time after the event to take a selfie with everybody that was there. It took her 4 minutes.
Really 4? I heard 3.5. But
Nicely done.
Right, that. Thank you. BET Black Entertainment TV News interviewing a black couple. And the reporter asked the husband and wife, who did you vote for in 2008 and 2012?
Barack Obama. 2016.
I voted for Donald Trump.
Hillary Clinton. 2020.
Donald Trump.
Biden. And who will you vote for in 2024?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. You may vote for the former president. I may. Why do you say that? My views on certain things have changed.
I think that's pretty significant. Yep. We'll see.
Yep.
American missionaries are trapped in Haiti. There's a chaos as gang violence has overtaken the country. Non-essential personnel at the U.S. Embassy have been evacuated. Marines have been brought in. It's 37 in Lone Tree, 36 in Louisville, 39 in Denver. The Nuggets going for 4 straight, take on the Heat tonight. The Avs over the Flames 6-2. CSU taking on San Jose State today in the Mountain West Conference basketball tournament. So that should be fun. March Madness underway, and Jeff and Bill are underway. They continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right, let's go to the lines with Brian. Brian, you've been very patient from Arvada. Thanks for sticking around. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, good morning. You know, with the whole Ken Buck, CNN Ken, MSN Ken pass the buck. You can just go on and on. I really liked him at the beginning, but it really shows how, eventually you become a swamp monster. And you end up padding your pockets. Either they have dirt on Ken, someone has dirt on Ken, or Ken is selling out for money. And when you're so anti-MAGA that you're going to hurt the party, and you can't see past the policy differences that we're voting for this time around and leave the person out of it, you're just selfish.
I got a question for you, Brian, on this, on your framing there, about the idea where you talk about Ken when you go to the swamp, that it eventually takes over you and you become a swamp creature. Do you feel that all of the people that are MAGA, the pro-Trump, the Lauren Boberts, the Gates, the Chip Roys, are they eventually going to fall into that same sweet seduction of the swamp, or are they different? If you think they're different, why?
I think they're eventually going to fall into the swamp. I don't care who you are. You're there long enough. You see how you they teach you how to pad your wallet. They teach you how to get stocks that everyone's going to vote for. They teach you how to love the camera. So as soon as they get in there, eventually they're going to turn into a swamp monster. But Ken, to sell us out at the end, Colorado, the Republican Party, to line his own pockets, just shows the swamp will get to anybody. If they can get to Ken, they'll get to anybody. And like I said, they either got dirt on this guy, or he's just once he wants to line his pockets now. Like, you made a commitment. People voted for you to serve your term.
Right.
And now you're going to bail out. I get you don't want to run again. Great. But now you want to bow out on the 11th hour before an election and hurt our majorities just for your selfish reasons. I mean, you're not holding to your commitment, Ken. So go get a microphone and go on MSNBC and CNN all day and bash the MAGA movement, because that's all he's going to be is now just a useful tool for the left.
And it's
show
amazing
how dysfunctional
it's
we are.
amazing how they transition too. I'm thinking of David French, right? So anybody that was in the conservative movement for years loved David French. He was brilliant, and he went after the radical left out there, and then he started writing for the New York Times, and he wrote an article just last week about the importance of supporting or how Nikki Haley voters should go and support Joe Biden. It's amazing the transition that happens there. I mean, they start a little bit of bashing MAGA, and then before you know it, they're fully in the camp of encouraging people to vote Democrat.
And and that's the whole problem, is we are now, we have to look past the person to the policy.
Yeah.
And if you can't shelf your feelings and vote for Republican because of the policy differences, well, then you're just then we can't reach you. And that's what I'm sad about is you got to shelf your feelings this time around, just like you had to last time. And you got to vote for policies, or else you're voting for open borders, for crime, for all this fentanyl killing our children every day. 122,000 people dead last year from fentanyl. I mean,
put the jersey on and go fight for your team. I agree with you entirely, Brian. Thank you.
Stop putting Dick Wadham on the air. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Brian from Arvada, his line. He's got his line's open. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Here's a text message. 5631. Ken Buck should honor his commitment and finish his term. There's another text here about how much this is going to cost Colorado taxpayers to have to pay for this special election.
Yeah, that is an issue too. Yeah. And the strategy is, the timing's really interesting. And before we get into the Biden testimony, we have a caller sitting. I think there is some strategy here for Buck, but I don't think he's trying to mess with Bobert as much as other people are saying.
Yeah, no. And the strategy for Ken Buck is to get the most money he can from CNN.
Oh, absolutely. The other one, though, is people are saying they're messing her up because of, she has to be, does she leave her seat in 3 to run for 4? The issue there for me is, from my understanding, she only has to leave if she wins. That she can run while being still the CD3 sitting there. So it's only if she wins. So the only way this, in my mind, hurts Lauren are one of two things. One, if there's a different person chosen that becomes the incumbent, that makes it more difficult for her based on just name recognition and the incumbency momentum. The other one is that it forces a change, that if she wins, if she becomes that nominee, she has to then leave CD3. Now, the reason I don't think that Ken is trying to necessarily just mess with Bobert is because if the goal was to really screw it up for Bobert, he would have left about a month ago, because and this is just my opinion. And again, I don't wear either party's jersey, not a Republican, not a Democrat. I'm in the independents. I don't speak for the entire unaffiliated, but we have some questions. And I think from where we sit, that if Bobert announces end of December, if Buck comes out first or second week in January, you can hold the special election. And then if Bobert is the selected nominee and she wins that special election, you have time for another special election before the fall. By waiting until now, that window closes, because if she wins the upcoming special election, you're inside of the 100 days, or what is it, 90 days? It's 90 or 100 days before the next election. So they can't run another special before the fall. So in other words, if she does win and she moves to 4, the 3 seat is still open, rather than making it more complicated where something else could go on. So that's my theory, is that he could have made it really, really difficult and really messed with it. I think this one, though, the play is, okay, Lauren, you want the seat? Let's see how willing you are to push your chips in the table, into the middle of the table. Let's see if you're willing to play the game.
The sense you get from his interviews yesterday was that this was an emotional decision based off of her testimonies, and he had just had enough. And I think he probably texted his chief of staff and said, "I'm done."
Yeah, I can see that.
Done.
Absolutely.
I mean, listen to this.
My colleague Melanie Zanona is reporting that there is such tension among House Republicans that many of them aren't even going to a retreat that's going to happen at the end of this week. Is that tension part of why you're leaving so abruptly?
I think this place is dysfunctional. For example, I am the number 3rd ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. I haven't even asked my questions yet. 40, 50 people have gone before me.
But that could be personal.
It could be personal, but a lot of this is personal. And that's the problem. Instead of having decorum, instead of operating in a professional manner, this place has just evolved into this bickering and nonsense, and not really doing the job for the American people.
So I think he was sitting in that Hur testimony yesterday, had enough of 50 other people testifying in front of him, and just texted his chief and said, "We're done. We're out." Speaking of the Hur testimony, okay, former special counsel Robert Hur, who led the investigation into President Biden's handling of classified documents, testified Tuesday before the House Judiciary Committee, where lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have leveled heavy criticism against Hur's report that ultimately vindicated the president, sort of, but included some highly critical conclusions. That's from CBS's news reporting. I actually think that yesterday's testimony was a win for Republicans. I don't think it was that good for Biden, but both sides went at it over this, and I want to hear what you think about this. Did yesterday's testimony of Robert Hur in front of the House Judiciary Committee benefit Trump, benefit Biden, or are you just tired of the political games? Because here's what happened yesterday. This report, which was released about a month ago, that said, yes, Joe Biden did have classified documents. Yes, could have been charged, but it's unlikely he could be convicted, basically because he's an old man with memory problems and the jury is likely to be sympathetic. So in light of that report, Democrats show up yesterday and go, look, President Biden may not be innocent, but he didn't do anything so bad that warrants criminal charges and a prosecution. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, on the other hand, what he did was so bad, he should be thrown into a prison in the middle of an ocean, and we should never hear from him again. Republicans, on the other side, went, the treatment of Donald Trump is two-tiered justice because Joe Biden, while not innocent, was definitely in possession of classified documents, and therefore, if he's not going to be charged, Donald Trump shouldn't be charged because Joe Biden was a senator, a vice president, a citizen. Donald Trump was a former president. He is the commander in chief. He has more sway over classified documents and declassified documents. That's the gist of what happened for 4 or 5 hours yesterday.
Yeah. We had,
okay.
In my mind, for the Republicans, it was the cursed monkey paw defense. The idea of what they're advocating for is a cursed monkey paw, because if you get what you want for Biden, it's worse for Trump. I don't think, I'm super curious as to whether or not the caucus had any sort of a strategy meeting. Did they whiteboard this? Did they talk about what the argument was going to be?
Republicans putting a strategy together?
I know. That's what I'm asking, because
you're so gracious.
The arguments they were making seemed to me to be obtuse and were more detrimental in theory to Trump than they were to Biden if we follow them to their logical conclusion. If the Republicans got what they wanted, Trump's in more trouble. And I kept listening to this going, you guys hearing this? You understand what you're asking for, right? I mean, you really, really do understand at the core what you're asking for when you're advocating for Joe Biden to be charged in this situation, because that means Trump is going to have more charges, a lot more charges coming to him.
So here's Republican Matt Gaetz. He kind of sums up how Republicans felt about this whole testimony yesterday.
February 8th, the White House question, Mr. President, why did you share classified information with your ghostwriter? The president, I did not share classified information. I did not share it. I guarantee I did not. That's not true, is it, Mr. Hur?
That is inconsistent with the findings based on the evidence in my report.
Yeah, so it's a lie. It's just what regular people would say, right? Yeah, all right. So the next one. And all the stuff that was in my home was in filing cabinets that were either locked or able to be locked. That wasn't true either, was it?
That was inconsistent with the findings of our investigation.
Another lie, people might say, right? You find in your report that the elements of a federal criminal violation are met. Isn't it frustrating that Biden continues to go out and lie about the basic facts of the report that lay out a federal criminal violation?
Congressman, I need to disagree with at least one thing that you said, which is that I found that all of the elements were met. One of the elements of the relevant mishandling statute is the intent element. And what my report reflects is my judgment that based on the evidence, I would not be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury that that intent element had been met.
But the reason you have that doubt is the senile cooperator theory. The fact that Joe Biden is so inept in responding that you can't prove the intent, which again, I don't quibble with that conclusion, but it's frustrating to be like, oh, well, this guy's not getting treated the same way as Trump because the elevator's not going to the top floor, so we can't prove intent. While at the same time, Biden goes out there at the White House and says, well, you know, he just blatantly lies. And what I'm trying to figure out is whether or not Biden's lying because he's still so senile, he hasn't read your report, or whether it's a little craftier and a little more devious and perhaps a little more intentional than we might otherwise think.
Okay, so the job of Republicans yesterday, if you're a good soldier on the Republican team, your job is to go and draw Joe Biden into as much mud as you possibly can around classified documents. Just sling it, get it on him, because your guy too has issues with classified documents. Now there's a difference there. I think there's an important difference between a president and vice president, but that's your job yesterday as a Republican, and Matt Gaetz did that.
There's also an issue with the behavior, and that's, but
right.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Let's go to Winston in Castle Rock. Winston, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. What'd you think, Winston, of yesterday's Hur testimony?
Hey guys, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is Winston. I used to be in the Army for many years. So part of my job was to write or transcribe regulations, SOPs, based on the U.S. Code number 18 about managing, handling classified materials, documents, CDs, DVDs, equipment. And the intent does not matter. As soon as you carry a document, grab a document out of the SCIF, out of the secure area, moving somewhere else, and for a moment you lose control of it, you're already guilty of this law. So the intent could be for some other charges. So Mr. Biden, when he was president, he broke the law. There is no discussion. It is on the 18 U.S. Code. Every single federal employee, from the lower enlisted soldier to the highest staff member of the White House, has to read this part of the regulation or law, has to sign, put the initials under every single paragraph when you are given a classified document on this case. So you understand the consequences of mismanaging or mishandling the document.
Now, Winston, you're talking about Winston. Let me interrupt for a second. You're talking about the consequences. You wrote you wrote a lot of the manuals. You know this very well. I want you to tell us. Let's say that for whatever reason you intentionally or accidentally remove some classified documents. You have them in your hand. Walk us through. What happens to you? Again, intent is irrelevant. You're right. What happens? Yeah. What are the consequences? What happens to Winston?
The consequences are, for instance, let's say somebody saw you leaving a document in a secure place. That witness will secure the document, will escort you out of the building, and you, at that point, you lose your security clearance, and your career has ended at that point. An individual, for instance, you plug in a USB device into your computer, a government computer in this case, the same thing. Could be an accident, could be somebody who forgot about what was doing, and that is enough. You immediately lose your security clearance and access to any top secret documents material. Then you will be brought in to talk to the intelligence team or security team to see what was your intent. What were you doing with this? Well, your career is over at that point.
Winston, I appreciate the insight.
That's interesting.
And that's very valuable for folks that know how serious our government should take these.
Yeah, we really, one of the things we've outlined, regardless if you're thinking that Biden should have been charged or shouldn't have been charged, or Trump should have been charged, shouldn't have been charged. One thing I think we can all agree on is we do a really bad job hanging onto our classified stuff. The entire system needs a rework. This is awful. This is ridiculous.
It's one of the issues, because I worked in the Senate, and when we left, I have no idea what happened to those. They just disappeared one day. We had boxes, and then they were gone. I don't know if they got thrown out. Nothing was classified.
Yeah,
it was
but still.
But nobody retains that. They're mostly government employees moving boxes, and stuff finds its places somewhere. But I think to Winston's point, though, if you're a captain in the Army and you walk out with a document, your career's over.
Yep.
You're a U.S. senator, walks out with a document, give it back. You're all right. Whatever.
I know.
And I don't think that that's fair.
No, and for me, that's the two-tiered justice system. That is where the definition is. I understand that people do it based on political lines, but for me, it has to do with power and influence.
Yeah.
That is, we see a lot of deference to people with that power and influence that get things that nobody else does. That if the average service member would have done either what Trump or Biden did, they would not have seen the sunshine until they were
I'm
sentenced.
going to give you a little bit of a difference on Trump. We don't have time to get into it now,
Yeah,
but
not right
Trump
now.
was the commander-in-chief. All right. But I do want to get your calls on this. Do you believe that the Hur testimony yesterday helped Biden or helped Trump or neither? 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Do you have a high school student considering their college plans? Are they ready to discover about their gifts and talents? Do you hope to see them become part of the next generation of Christian leaders? Your student is invited to Colorado Christian University's Discovery Preview. This week-long event is completely free. Discovery Preview is designed for students who desire to seek God's purpose and calling in their lives. Students are immersed in the community, culture, and mission of CCU. Workshops focused on calling, career, and Christ-centered leadership help them explore their unique strengths and potential career options. Their Christ-centered community also takes students on a Colorado adventure to experience the beauty of the Rocky Mountains. Eligible students can also qualify for a $1,250 annual scholarship for attending. Don't miss Discovery Preview this summer, June 17th through the 21st. The event is designed for juniors and seniors in high school and is, again, absolutely free. To learn more, go to ccu.edu/discovery. That's ccu.edu/discovery. Grateful to have CCU as a partner with KNUS. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. $300 million worth of weapons and military equipment will be sent from the US to Ukraine. The White House says the shipment is badly needed to help counter Russian forces who have recently made strategic gains in the country. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan warned the package, which includes anti-aircraft missiles and ammunition, will only keep Ukraine's guns firing for a short period. Forget basketball or soccer. In the US, girls wrestling is now the fastest growing high school sport in the country. In New York, Haley Bianco reports.
Until recently, girls wrestled on boys' teams and against boys. But in the past few years, girls are increasingly wrestling on girls' teams and against girls. The National Federation of State High School Associations finds that over the past decade, the number of high school girls' teams quadrupled nationally, and the number of girls wrestling in high school quintupled to more than 50,000 through last year. Last year alone, the number of girl wrestlers shot up nearly 60%. Still, the number of girls wrestling in high school was 1/5 of the number of boys last year. Reporting in New York, I'm Haley Bianco, Salem News Channel.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
All right, we're talking the Robert Hur testimony yesterday on the Jeff and Bill show. Good morning. It's 7:37. It's going to start raining later today. Only a high of 50, and then it all dumps tomorrow and Friday. So,
oh boy,
get ready for that. But we'll be giving you all the news and updates that you need on the station. So connect with 710 KNES. You can't get that on Twitter.
No, you can't. They're not going to
You
tell
can't.
you.
Best news is happening here. All right, so let's dive into the Robert Hur testimony yesterday. I asked if you thought that either helped Trump or Biden. Some good text messages here. One saying it didn't help either. It just showcased a dual system of justice. And you can make the argument there are two dual systems of justice. You can make the argument that Donald Trump is not treated fairly. Democrats like Joe Biden are. Or you could say, if you just have power like Joe Biden, and if you're the captain in the army who walks out with a document, you're not treated the same either.
Yeah, that's where I'm on
so,
that one.
That
power has its benefits.
Way you can take it. Robert Hur, who's a former special counselor, released the report about a month ago on Biden, the one that famously said we couldn't prosecute him because he's a old man with memory issues and people are going to be too sympathetic. And then everybody said, well, how about being the president of the United States? Is that a good thing? That's
a good point.
He should be the president of the United States. But Democrats jumped in yesterday to go after her. I kind of felt for her, Robert Hur, because nobody was happy with him.
Yeah. He was nobody's friend.
Maybe that's the sign of a good report.
It may be that nobody was happy with him. That was good. That was interesting. There were all sorts of grandstanding. I caught a bit of Colorado Representative Joe Neguse doing some stuff that was interesting, but again, it didn't help with the report. We weren't finding out more information. He was just doing something so that we could have talking points later.
Yes.
And his line of questioning had to do with whether or not there were any conversations with the AG's office, and he was comparing and contrasting the Mueller report. And again, did it give us any more information or any insight into what Robert Hur had done? Not a damn thing. No. But was he able to make this political point that maybe they can use later on? Yes. And you and I paid for it. Oftentimes these representatives, when they're asking the questions, sound like the kid that has been called up to ask a question to the person that just gave the book report and they haven't read the book. And they're quickly trying to read the jacket, trying to figure out, what can I ask? What can I ask? They have no idea what they're doing.
So I told you that Republicans' job, if you're a good soldier yesterday, like Matt Gaetz was to go up there and drag Joe Biden through as much classified document mud as you possibly could, right? We're going into an election season. We know that my guy has classified document issues. He's being prosecuted on that. I need to pull the opponent in the opposing party through as much mud as I possibly can.
He's trying to balance the ledger. That's what he's trying to do.
So that was the Republicans' job. The Democrats' job yesterday was to just throw as many wrenches as they could in front of her to try to make him look like anything from he's doing this to advance his own career to but you never really said that he was guilty of anything here. Listen to this. This is Hank Johnson, famous for believing that if we had too much military in Guam, it might tip the island over. Here's Hank Johnson.
Oh, boy.
Are you a member of the Federalist Society?
I am not a member of the Federalist Society.
But you are a Republican, though, aren't you?
I am a registered Republican.
Yes, sir. And you're doing everything you can do to get President Trump reelected so that you can get appointed as a federal judge or perhaps to another position in the Department of Justice. Isn't that correct?
Congressman, I have no such aspirations, I can assure you, and I can tell you that partisan politics had no place whatsoever in my work. It had no place in the investigative steps that I took. It had no place in the decision that I made, and it had no place in a single word of my report.
So Hank's trying to paint her as a partisan hack, and it didn't stop there. Here's Eric Swalwell.
I'm going to say that. On a second here, after listening to that, I think I am dumber. I think I am more stupid, and I don't need that. Can we stop him from asking questions? That is ridiculous. And here's the reason why. The tail end there, he makes this assertion about it. You're doing this because you want to be appointed to a judge.
Yes. Yep.
You honestly think that Robert Hur's going to go, yes, sir, absolutely. I'm glad you found that out. Now can we please hurry this along? Really? that's the question. You're just wasting our time.
This is campaign activity. This is campaign activity.
And this is why we hate them.
But this is where you have the soldiers showing up. So if you're a Democrat, your job yesterday was to go after her in his personal life. You're a registered Republican. That had nothing to do with the actual report itself.
Yeah, and that was the best Hank Johnson could do. Great.
So here's Eric Swalwell.
This is even worse.
You want to be perceived, understandably, as credible. And so I want to first see if you will pledge to not accept an appointment from Donald Trump if he is elected again as president.
Congressman, I'm not here to testify
Seems like an easy
about
answer.
what will happen in the
Considering
future.
what I just laid out.
I'm here to talk about the report and the work that went into it. And
But you don't want to be associated with that guy again, do you?
Congressman, I'm not here to offer any opinions about what may or may not happen in the future. I'm here to talk about the work that went into the report, which I stand by.
This is why we can't have nice things, people. This is the reason. Because we get morons asking stuff like that. And again, as Jeff is right, it is pure politics. There's nothing that is accomplished between Swalwell and Johnson asking those questions. They are pedantic. They are trite. They are stupid. And we are wasting time. This is why I get so mad when Congress says, we need a raise. You're not doing the job I'm paying you for.
Yeah.
How about you do that first? Then let's talk about a raise.
Hank Johnson notoriously thought that the Army would tip over the island of Guam, and he's still in office.
Not just in office. He gets to make the rules about what we get to do in our lives. I mean, the guy that thinks islands can tip over gets to make rules about the efficiency in our car and gas mileage. He gets to talk about safety. He's going to get to vote on whether or not TikTok is banned. This guy.
Yep.
Why? Why is... I'm sorry. I get so mad.
Which that's what we're absolutely going to cover in the 8 o'clock hour is this
Find
TikTok ban.
Find a happy place. Find a happy place.
9295, there is no justice, only partisan politics. The Star yesterday, this is from 5551, the Star was her. He comported himself with professionalism and class. I think he did.
He did. I was really impressed. I am not often impressed with the witnesses of people that are testifying. I was really impressed. He was on his game. I didn't always agree with what he was doing, but I was impressed. I would give him at least an A- on his performance, given what I've seen elsewhere.
So
Absolutely.
Here's Jim Jordan trying to get to the real motivation of why Joe Biden was taking these documents.
Mr. Hur, why did he do it? Why did Joe Biden, in your words, willfully retain and disclose classified materials? I mean, he knew the law. Been in office like 50 years, 5 decades in the United States Senate, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, 8 years as vice president. He got briefed every day as vice president. He's been in the Situation Room. In fact, you know he knew the rules because you said so on page 226. President Biden was deeply familiar with the measures taken to safeguard classified documents. And Joe Biden told us he knew the rules. Mr. Armstrong said this earlier. Joe Biden was deeply familiar with it. You're exactly right, because he told us when Jack Smith goes after President Trump, Joe Biden says, how could this happen? What data was in those documents that could compromise sources and methods? It's irresponsible. So Joe Biden knew the rules. You know he knew the rules. And Joe Biden told us he knew the rules. So, Mr. Hur, why did he break them?
Congressman, the conclusion as to exactly why the president did what he did is not one that we explicitly address in the report. The report explains my decision to the Attorney General that no criminal charges were warranted in this matter.
I think you did tell us. I think you told us, Mr. Hur. Page 231, you said this. President Biden had strong motivations. That's a key word. We're getting to motive now. President Biden had strong motivations to ignore the proper procedures for safeguarding the classified information in his notebooks. Why did he have strong motivations? Because, next word, because he decided months before leaving office to write a book. To write a book. That was his motive.
I agree entirely with Jim Jordan on that.
I like that word with Jim Jordan. Again, I hear the same thing that I heard with Johnson and Swalwell. I hear Jim Jordan asking a question. The responder goes, I don't have an answer. We didn't come to that conclusion. He goes, I have your answer. He asked and answered his own question. do better. Sorry. That was a waste of time.
I appreciate
Waste
the
of
fact
time.
that Jim Jordan dove into the real motivation that Joe Biden wanted these.
Jim Jordan would have a hard time
classified
diving
documents
into a child's pool at the country club. He can't dive anything.
No. This was all about writing books. Joe Biden wanted to write books and make money. That's why he had those classified documents.
Yeah,
and if you're going to allow a vice president, a former senator, a private citizen to do that while you prosecute the president of the United States, who is a commander-in-chief, for having classified documents, you're way out of line.
Trump's a private citizen when he had the classified documents, so he's a private citizen too. The other thing is Jim Jordan gave away his question there at the end. He gave away the fact that he's performing, and it's right there at the end where he gives it up. He says, in his notebooks. That's important because if you read the findings of Hur, a lot of the classified information was contained in handwritten notes, in notebooks or on note cards for Joe Biden, not the original documents. And we've heard, and this is the thing that's making me mad, last 20 hours or so, I've heard a lot of people on media, a lot of talk show hosts, talk about what did Biden do? Did he put him in his pants in the skiff? How did he get him out of there? How did he possibly? You didn't read the report. Because the report says the majority of the classified information is contained in handwritten notes in notebooks. Jordan knows that.
Oh,
right
that
there.
doesn't make it any better.
Hang on a sec. I'm not saying it's better. What I'm saying is the narrative that we had from Jordan right there, he gave it up at the end. And all of those media people that have been telling you about Joe Biden stuffing things into his jacket or his pants didn't read the report because that's not what's in the report. Characterizing it as if Biden was in a skiff and then stuffed these things into his clothes and then run away. That's not what happened, but that's how it was portrayed. And every single person behind this microphone or in front of that camera that told you he was stealing out of a skiff didn't read the report or is lying to you about it. They're trying to convince you of something that's not true.
I think somebody robbed somebody with a gun or a knife, and you're pointing to the fact that, well, at least it wasn't a gun. He still robbed him with a knife. You're
I wouldn't
splitting hairs.
I wouldn't try
on the fact that a crime actually took place.
I wouldn't go after gun regulation if I was robbed with a knife. That's the issue here. And the cases are not the same. Fundamentally different. We've got to get to a break real quick.
They are fundamentally different because one is a commander-in-chief.
Not when you have the documents.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Are the Trump or Biden classified document cases different, the same? I think they are different because one is a commander-in-chief and has a lot more leeway over those documents than a former Delaware citizen.
And if you want Biden charged, are you willing to have Donald Trump face more charges?
Be charged.
Because that's what's going to happen.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Give us a call, 303-696-1971.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Or text us on the 710KNUS app. Imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll-them-out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll-them-out shelves understands that every home storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leave satisfied customers wherever they go. And they're all 5-star reviews confirm it. Here's what some of their overjoyed customers say. The quality and products are excellent. The quality of the labor installation is outstanding. The customer service is unsurpassed. I absolutely recommend Roll 'em Out Shelves. They are very good listeners, and they have great suggestions for cabinetry solutions. This is a top-notch company, excellent product, excellent service, and installation. We had shelves installed in the laundry room and kitchen, made a world of difference in accessing items. I highly recommend them. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll 'em Out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601. That's 303-475-9601. 9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Tell them Jeff sent you. Rollemoutshelves.com will get your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
All right, we're talking the Robert Hur testimony that took place on Capitol Hill yesterday. Both sides doing their duty.
That's I like how you said duty. That's what I saw. A whole bunch of duty all over the place.
Republicans drawing Joe Biden into every possible muddy classified document situation they could.
Duty.
Democrats trying to say, well, what Donald Trump did was way worse.
Duty.
And Joe Biden should be let off the hook. Isn't he an innocent man? Look, you're not bringing charges.
All the duty.
That's what happened. It's all politics. It's all geared towards this election. You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS, doing our duty.
Eight a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. We are covering all the news you need this morning. Ken Buck is out. We're giving an analysis of the Robert Hur testimony. And how long are you going to be able to have TikTok on your phone? Probably not past August.
Yeah,
it looks
Tickety
like
Talks,
that's
the threat to democracy. We will thwart it. For all your dances and your challenges.
That and inflation rising. So all the news that you need on the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's the phones are starting to fill up. 303-696-1971. What did you think of the Robert Hur testimony? We'll get to Blake Olson in just a second. Let's go to Steve in Denver. Steve, you're on News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. I'll go quick. Jeff, I'm opposed to everything you say, but you're great. You're very civil, a la Reagan. So that's why people listen to you.
Oh, well, that's nice.
He's a great dude. Yeah.
So here's my comment on Hurd. He's a big time intellect. If you look at his credentials and what he's done, I mean, he's at a level top of the top. For example, if you compare him just on paper, he's equal to or higher than the people on the Supreme Court in terms of academics and experience. He hadn't had a judgeship. So his future is, unlimited. So I guess my view is he's certainly not a political hack. And, he was put in a very difficult position. And
there's something to be said when both sides don't like you. You might be right where you need to be.
Good point.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, that's it. And continue on.
Well, thanks, Steve. I appreciate the call. I do think Trump's case is different than Biden's case simply by the office that they held. I think if you're the president of the United States and the commander in chief, you can declassify documents. I think there's broad authority to be able to do that. Where I think that there is contention is over the Presidential Records Act and whether or not those records solely belong to the government or they can be personal as well.
Yeah, that's the thing that I have is that I think these are fundamentally different cases because Biden, forgetful and had stuff he shouldn't have. Trump, his defense is, nope, mine. Gimme, mine. Disagree.
Which, you have the role as the president to be able to do that.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the role to make it his private property. That's the issue. He does not have that
You're
power.
hanging on the Presidential Records Act for that.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily the declassify. Are you agreeing that the president has the ability to declassify documents?
Oh, absolutely. However, there's a process and a procedure. This whole idea that he magically can do it with his mind and then they're declassified, that's just stupid on its face. I mean, that is so, I'm sorry. I will use a phrase that is popular with the listener. It is rock-chewing stupid to assert that the president can declassify something with his mind. That is ridiculous. That is just silly.
Where is the process written down?
There is a process and procedure for it. Again, I don't have it in front of me. Oh, there is. And you know why? Because someone has to put those stampy things and the dates on the paper. In order to get to that process, there's a process to put it there. They don't just randomly have these stamps in your desk
I'm not sure
drawer.
that process is written into law. I think it's more procedural.
But then again, there still is a procedure. And I'm guaranteeing
we're going to put Trump in jail over the fact he didn't follow procedure?
Oh, no, not at all. That's not what he's being charged with. But the issue being that that procedure isn't blink like you're in Bewitched and then it's magically declassified. No, he is not Samantha in Bewitched.
He thinks it is.
But he also thinks that when you do tariffs, the exporter pays them. He is not the bellwether of what is right and correct about anything.
Trump on declassification.
This is from President Trump's office. It just came in a few minutes ago. As we can all relate to, everyone ends up having to bring home their work from time to time. American presidents are no different. President Trump, in order to prepare the work the next day, often took documents, including classified documents, to the residence. He had a standing order. There's the word I've been looking for. That documents removed from the Oval Office and taken to the residence were deemed to be declassified the moment he removed them. The power to classify and declassify documents rests solely with the President of the United States. The idea that some paper-pushing bureaucrat with classification authority delegated by the President needs to approve the declassification is absurd.
Woo! There you go.
I know. And that statement is only outdone in stupidity based on the one that he can magically think of it. Because everything contained in that statement, again, rock-chewing stupid. Makes no sense what they said there to make
He's the commander-in-chief. He doesn't have to go through a bureaucrat to declassify something.
What we're going to use, we talked to Blake, and what we're going to talk about afterwards is if he does have that standing order, what does that mean? That's important because if you believe that pile of steaming crap that just came out of that guy's mouth while he was on TV, I want you to explain it to me. There's a real difference there. If you believe that, as far as what the fallout is and what that functionally means, that's why I know it's full of crap. And it's because the administration can't be that stupid. They cannot possibly be that stupid that they're going to make that argument.
303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Let us know your thoughts. Frank, we're going to get to you in just a second. Let's check in with Blake Olson on the news. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Bill. 39 and cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the low 50s today with rain before the winter storm moves in tonight. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, Colorado Republican Ken Buck will leave Congress before the end of his term. Buck announced he'll leave Congress at the end of next week. trimming Republicans' razor-thin majority. The congressman had become known for breaking from his party on a number of issues.
But a lot of this is personal. That's the problem. Instead of having decorum, instead of operating in a professional manner, this place has just evolved into this bickering and nonsense, and not really doing the job for the American people.
Hey, Brian is a voter and a patriot, and here's what he thinks.
Eventually you become a swamp monster and you end up padding your pockets. Either they have dirt on Ken, someone has dirt on Ken, or Ken is selling out for money.
President Biden and former President Trump have officially locked up their respective parties' nominations.
Hello, everyone. It's your favorite president speaking to you on a really great day of victory. And tonight, the Republican National Committee has just declared us the official nominee, which is a big deal. But most importantly, we now have to go into victory because our country's in serious trouble. We have millions and millions of people flowing in. We have no respect on the world stage. What we say doesn't mean a thing anymore.
And one of the cringe moments Tuesday in Denver as Vice President Kamala Harris paid a visit.
Let us fight for the promise of America. And you know what? When we fight, we win!
I am going to spend the next minute screaming.
All right, Harris spoke for about 14 minutes.
Is it just me or does she sound like the average 5th grade teacher announcing that it's going to be pizza party on Friday?
Worse.
It sounds
worse. I don't know what, I mean, she looks like and sounds like she has a difficult time breathing. Honestly, well, she was in the Mile High City, so maybe that's why.
But she, one of those oxygen.
Yes. Oh my goodness. All right, I move on. Author and columnist Mitch Albom and his wife are among 10 people who've been rescued from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, where gangs have taken over. Their Albom has a orphanage there. All right, Jeremy Lewis is behind bars on suspicion of second-degree murder for allegedly dragging a man by a car in Denver. It happened Monday morning on South Quebec Way. Police say the victim got into an argument with Lewis, and he tried to get inside the vehicle Lewis was driving. He drove away. Investigators say the man was dragged down the road until he fell onto the pavement and died at the scene. Denver police asking for the public's help in solving a deadly stabbing. Investigators say Deshaun Lockett was found stabbed to death along North Ursula Street on Monday, on the night of March 1st, that is. Anyone with information that could lead to the arrest of Lockett's killer is urged to contact Metro Denver Crime Stoppers. It's 38 in Aurora, 36 in Arvada, and 39 in Denver. Don't forget CSU taking on San Jose State today in the Mountain West Conference basketball tournament. Jeff and Bill continue a great show on Hump Day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right. Do you think that the criticism, the trial, the attack on Donald Trump over classified documents was just made null as a result of the Joe Biden report and testimony by Robert Hur yesterday? I'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. I think it helped Republicans. I think at this point, the case against Trump, people are going to go, these guys are all doing it, whether they know it or not, or somebody puts it in a box or somebody doesn't. I think a lot of them are. Mike Pence. Joe Biden, Donald Trump?
They're doing what Donald Trump did?
As far as classified documents?
Yeah.
I think that Donald Trump has more leeway to take those documents and deem them not classified. But if it gets into Presidential Records Act, I'm a little sympathetic to the notion that, the government shouldn't own all your documents when you were the president. That's kind of crazy.
Why shouldn't the government own the property of which they produced? It's their work product. It's not anything Donald Trump did. It's not like Donald.
You don't think the president of the United States has owned any type of personal documents once he leaves?
Here's the thing: if they're his personal documents, it's stuff that he works on himself. If it's generated if it is generated when you are working for the company or in the process of working for them, that intellectual property belongs to the company and or the government.
Some of these are notebooks.
I know. And when you get checked out, they're supposed to go through them. I know people that have calendars checked, that they literally had to submit their calendar that they had handwritten, and they had to go page by page to make sure there was nothing written on the calendar. Again, that's because these people are low enough on the totem pole to actually care. Biden and Trump high enough on the totem pole, nobody cares. We can take whatever you want home, and
then you can write a book on it.
Yeah,
apparently.
but it's not different.
Let's go to Frank though. Frank, you're in Golden. What do you think? Are there differences in these two cases between Trump and Biden when regards to classified documents?
Oh yes, I definitely think so. I think that here's the problem. It's not so much the office, because the Presidential Records Act, from what I understand, controls what Trump could have done with those records. And on his last day in office, they're supposed to be handed over. And the idea that you can just kind of magically, mentally declassify things, I would like to know, given the statement that was issued, where's the standing order that anything I take to Mar-a-Lago is declassified? I would imagine that would be something in writing, or at very least you'd have somebody who could testify to it. But I haven't seen or heard anything like that. And the reason that it's important is because it's only raised after he was charged and after the I can't remember the name of the office, but then the FBI had to become involved. They tried to get those documents back repeatedly. They asked him over and over to get them back, and then Trump affirmatively took steps to hide them. I mean, that's pretty bad. And he only comes up with the I can declassify things defense after he's charged. And so there's a definite scientor intent problem here. I think these two cases basically lead us to, if you let people do and say things without interfering with them, they show you exactly who they are. And in this case, Biden's document mishandling shows that basically he's kind of a low-level money grubbing criminal, but who is now too old to understand or be able to to defend himself, I guess. And where Trump is just basically a 15-year-old narcissist who thinks he's above the law. And that's exactly what these two things have shown us. That's why it doesn't hurt or help either candidate, in my opinion. The cases are entirely different, and it just is reflective of who these two individuals are. I don't think either of them should be president of their Florida retirement HOA community. I mean, that they're incompetent.
That's good.
So who are you going to vote for in November?
I haven't decided if I'm going to vote at all, because I don't know if I want to participate in this. It's insulting to me that this is where we are, and it's further insulting when I get. Here's the thing, Billy. You mentioned right before the break, do the Trump people are they really that stupid that they think you can just kind of think a document into a declassified category? And my answer is no, they're not that stupid, but they certainly think the rest of us are.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Frank, to this point, though, I think that the political infrastructure has ever gone after a president before with regards to classifying this, declassifying that. Did you take it to your residence? Did you not take it to your residence? They haven't been picking through that. Do you believe that previous presidents ever took classified documents up to their residence?
Oh, I think they probably did. I just don't know if they were as emboldened like the way Trump was, and just saying, kind of giving him the finger and saying, I don't care. I'm holding on to him. And then having his kind of pool boy or whatever the heck he was, move boxes around to hide him. I mean, and you got to take some of this, Jeff, I think to a logical conclusion here is that, do we really want to have presidents just be able to kind of think documents into a declassified category? Because right now we've got a president, in my mind, is mentally absolutely unfit to hold the office. And if he can just, in even a quasi-lucid moment or unlucid moment, declassify records and just kick them out to the public or hold on to them, I mean, he could be kicking out records that are national security interests. He could be kicking out records left and right that he's just thinking declassified.
Right. He is the commander-in-chief. He is the commander-in-chief. He is the highest office in the executive branch. And if what you're concerned about, then we shouldn't be putting people like Joe Biden into office.
Right. And they should follow regulations to declassify.
But then you're allowing somebody else to develop that regulations and basically serve a higher role within the executive branch. That's one of Trump's arguments here. Is if the president of the United States can't just deem something declassified as commander-in-chief, then somebody else is. They've developed the process, then somebody else is in that role.
I want that. I don't want somebody
who and how do you keep them accountable?
I think you have to have some sort of mechanism to keep them accountable somehow. You're making it sound like this would be just a bunch of nameless, faceless.
That's what most of our executive branch is.
Well, I want to focus the conversation here, because what I think you're going a little bit too far in the weeds. This is not about some amorphous other person inside of the White House or the administration declassifying documents. This is about a procedure that is in place if the president declassifies the documents. There are other people involved. And if the president is declassifying these documents, the notations have to be changed on the documents.
And when was that law passed?
I don't know, but
because
it was before
there isn't
Trump.
a law passed. It's just a procedure.
Yeah.
And we're willing to rake the president of the United States over, send in, trial attorneys to go after these guys. Like I pointed out before. I bet there are presidents in the past that have taken classified documents to their residence. Yet now all of a sudden Donald Trump does it. It's a really big issue that we've got to deal with.
So the argument that you're going with is, when we have the classified documents and the notation is changed and they are now declassified, we don't have to do anything with them. That classified notation can change on there. We shouldn't tell anybody about it. There's no process. We just get those documents and we do whatever we want with them because Donald Trump thought something about them. Now he can do whatever he wants with them because of his magic power in his brain.
I'm maintaining the constitutional powers given to the chief executive of the executive branch.
And where in there does it say he has magic thought powers?
He's the chief. He's the commander-in-chief.
No, but where does it say magic
classify?
No. Where does it?
But there's no law on this. There's no law on this.
That's not outlined anywhere in the Constitution nor law. So he can't just magically declassify it with his head. And again, it is stupid to think so. That answer that we played earlier about President Trump having a standing order to declassify documents when he took them back out of the Oval Office. Again, rock chewing stupid. And you know why? That means the moment that Donald Trump steps out of the Oval Office, you and I get to read all that information.
Who deems it declassified?
No, with his magical thought powers. We have the guy here.
In your world, who deems it declassified?
The president. Yeah. And so he would have to give voice to that. He would have to turn around and say, I declassify this. And then we have people that come in and stamp things. He's in charge of it. The issue is we have nothing proving Donald Trump ever declassified any of this information.
Part of the challenge, though, is that no president has been attack like this before.
No, it's not about it.
And so you're like, well, there's no procedure. You're saying that John F. Kennedy did not take Cuban Missile Crisis detailed information up to his residence?
Hang on. What I'm saying is, help me understand this. Help me understand why it makes sense to think that when the president leaves the Oval Office, there is a standing order that everything that is classified that he is carrying now becomes declassified. Why does that make sense? And here's the reason why. That means as soon as he steps outside the Oval Office, you and I can FISA every single classified document. So is that the argument? that because he's going to take this stuff into his house, his home, his personal residence, he's going to have this automatic declassification. So now you and I can
FISA everything that's declassified.
No. Yes, you can. Once it's declassified, you can FISA it.
Case.
But you can FISA it, and that's the issue. That's why it's important. That's why the response about this standing issue of declassification is rock-chewing stupid, because you never would authorize a declassification system like that, because that means every single classified document that walks out of the Oval Office is now subject to FISA. That is stupid.
All right.
Absolutely
Give us
stupid.
a call, 303-696-1971. Frank, I appreciate the call. 303-696-1971. Frank's line is open. Jeff on here for my friends at Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggested you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you is in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer. Dan is also a former seminarian. Dan has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. So when Jokic needs help, he calls Dan Caplis. Same with me. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious people. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, call 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. Let's go to, do we have Mary on? Did we lose Mary? Okay, we had Mary there in just a second, but I think she dropped off. Mary? Okay, we're going to get to your calls. These calls are lighting up. There are a lot of text messages. You can't see past your Trump derangement syndrome. Bill, look at it objectively. Come on, man. Jeff's willingness to let King Trump do what he wants is terrifying. If Trump wins, we are all doomed. His cult will hand over whatever power he wants over to him, and everything America stood for is over. Jeff, educate yourself. My question is twofold. I think that, or multifold on this. I think that the case between Trump and Biden is different because of the offices that they held. When you're the chief, the commander-in-chief, you have the ability to declassify. There's not a law with regards to process to declassifying something. There's broad authority given to the commander-in-chief with regards to classifying or declassifying documents. Okay. So just by the nature of that, the fact that Joe Biden or Mike Pence had classified documents in their control makes what they did worse than what Donald Trump did. Okay. Just in the nature of the fact of the offices that they held, because of that rule, what Joe Biden and Mike Pence did was worse. Now you can jump now to the, well, one cooperated and one didn't cooperate, and one wanted to hold on to documents and one was willing to easily give them up. But the original issue in itself is different because of the offices that they held.
Why do you describe that as a jump?
Because it's, in my mind, like saying, well, one person committed murder and cooperated with the police, and one person committed murder and hid the bodies. Therefore, the one that cooperated with the police is in a better situation. And you're like, no, they both killed people. But so if you're going to look at the crime itself, just jumping to whether or not someone cooperated with police after the fact doesn't make it, those issues, the original crime itself, any better.
I like the idea that you're using the crime. What is the crime that Trump is being charged with? In reference from the documents.
I think that they're going after Donald Trump unfairly with regards to classified documents.
Yeah, but what's the crime he's being charged with? Because that you talked about the crime. I want to know if the crimes are the same. Are they?
No.
Okay, and that's why one's being charged and one isn't, because the crimes aren't the same. They didn't commit the same crime.
Because one was president, one was vice president.
No, one
was a citizen.
One decided to not honor a subpoena and hide stuff. That's what they're being charged with. That's the difference.
So
Different
the classified documents have no bearing on Trump's case.
Here's the thing: they have a bearing, but it's not what he's being charged with.
Right.
This idea that
I think that's really important. I think
But-
there's a lot of people that don't realize that.
Oh, absolutely. But that's not our fault that a lot of people come to the wrong conclusion. Sorry. Apologize.
So
what are we going to do about
you
that?
have different issues here. You have
Maybe
the
listen to the show more
classified
often.
versus classified, non-classified. So then Donald Trump is not being charged with holding classified documents. Do you know that? It'd be hard to know that looking at the media out there and the coverage of this issue. The charges on Donald Trump are related to the fact that he didn't want to give them up and give them back. And I think there's a real question on the constitutionality of the Presidential Records Act. So I'm not willing to just give that over to the left that I think is unfairly prosecuting Trump in this case either. Let's go to, do we have Frank on, or are we going to Ryan? All right, Ryan, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Ryan.
Hey, morning. Actually, appreciate you taking the call. I've been listening for a number of years, and I was just calling in to echo Frank's sentiment. You know, I'm someone who donated time to the Romney campaign, the McCain campaign, worked with Douglas County Republicans. I was college Republicans, high school Republicans. This last election, I didn't vote. This next one, I don't think I'm going to vote. I'm just so curious how many more folks out there are sort of in the same boat as I am. We're just sort of sick of it.
So if you don't vote, do you think you're handing the reins to the leadership of this country to Joe Biden?
No, I live in Colorado. My vote means close to nothing as far as getting a Republican elected.
Right. So you worked for Republicans in the past, but now you're sitting it out. So isn't that to the benefit of Democrats?
I think the sentiment is, I would be curious if you polled the audience, how many people actually really, truly at this stage of the game want a third party? Because I think Trump is atrocious. I think Biden taking documents to write a book is disgusting. I think all in all, I think the better question is how much of the American public is just so sick of watching.
Well, I mean, you do have a choice in that. You have Robert F. Kennedy. So would you support? Would you support Robert F. Kennedy?
Possibly. I'm not familiar with him. Is he considered sort of a blue dog, old school Democrat?
Yeah, he's pro-choice, but he really does press back on kind of the swamp and the big government that's taking place.
He also thinks that the COVID vaccine was engineered to teach us all to be sheep. He thinks that it was a government program to close down everything again for the coming overlords that are going to take over and things like that too. So he's got some interesting views.
COVID vaccine rhymes with honey. I think that was just big pharma making money, but that's my opinion.
They did a good job doing it. Yeah, you got a point there.
Robert F. Kennedy may be with you. I mean, look, you're not. I don't think we're at a place where we have enough third parties that are big enough to be able to actually really change an election. Could Robert F. Kennedy maybe on some of these local cases, like with the Libertarians in CD8, Congressional District 8, they kept a Republican from winning. I think that was the case during this last election. But there's going to be, if you get into coalition building governments like they have to in England, you end up with a whole bunch of problems too, because now all of a sudden you're having to build a bunch of coalitions in order to get power. And it's not all a greener grass over on that side.
And the one thing that anybody that has worked in a large office knows, that when you have lots of little tiny groups, getting them to work together at a common goal is so easy. It's so easy to do that when lots of little groups together. It's just it's so nice. Everybody's pleasant. Nobody's worried about their own thing, and no one argues. It's wonderful.
Ryan, I really appreciate the call. Thanks. And thanks for letting us know who you're supporting and voting for. We want you to be a part of the conversation, which we really appreciate. Frank and Bruce, we're going to get to you in just a second. Hey, your home is a significant asset, and choosing the right team to help you sell it can be the difference in thousands of dollars in your pocket. I highly recommend Gay Ribble, and the Empower Home team, the realtors I trust. Empower Home team provides exceptional service and valuable advice and employs unique systems to maximize the money you can get for your home. Getting an offer above your home's asking price is great, but you're leaving money on the table by not working with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Gay and her experts get their clients an average of $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Their exclusive database is filled with pre-screened buyers ready to make a purchase. Isn't that nice? Take the stress and hassle out of selling your home while getting the best price. Here's an unbeatable offer. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team will sell your house for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and Empower Home team today. Call 833-301-SOLD or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll get to Frank, Jim, and Bruce and all your text messages. I love all this. In just a second, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. Intelligence officials have said they cannot rule out the possibility that the Chinese government will use TikTok to influence the upcoming US elections. The House of Representatives is set to consider a bill that would force TikTok to divest from Chinese parent firm ByteDance or face a nationwide ban. Laura Westbrook has more.
Here in Hong Kong, TikTok is banned. Chinese users actually use a separate version called Douyin. Over in the US, though, TikTok is extremely popular, and there are concerns in the US that TikTok is a Chinese app. The US intelligence community said that accounts run by the Chinese government's propaganda arm reportedly targeted candidates in the 2022 midterm elections. TikTok executives, though, deny sharing any data with Beijing.
Alexei Navalny's former chief of staff has been attacked with a hammer outside his home in Eastern Europe. Leonid Volkov was a longtime ally of the deceased Russian opposition leader and helped fight political corruption whilst calling for free and fair elections. Mr. Volkov was reportedly assaulted whilst in his car in Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
Having a great conversation on the Hur testimonies yesterday and whether or not that helped Joe Biden, helped Donald Trump. Are their cases different? I do think their cases are different. What is Donald Trump being charged with? What is Joe Biden being charged with? All that stuff. Let's get to the phone lines. They're absolutely jam-packed full. Are we up with Frank next? All right, let's do Frank from Evergreen. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Frank.
Hey, good morning. I actually called to talk about the classification process because I know something about that. But I want to
Please.
mention that RFK Jr. real quick. He's actually my second choice behind Trump, and the reason is because he's a rabble rouser, and that's what we need. We need to shake things up so bad in our government.
Yep.
Based on what we were talking about yesterday with the with the FBI collecting Cabela shoppers and all that. It's ridiculous.
Yep, I appreciate that, Frank.
He also said believes that the CIA killed his father and uncle, and stranger things have happened, I'll tell you. But we need to shake things up in this country big time. We're way overdue for that.
Did you want to talk about the classification process real quick?
Yeah, classification. Do you know what an original classifier is by chance?
I do not. No.
Okay, well, original classifier is the individual who is identified, who has incredible knowledge of our national secrets, and they are the people that determine the classification of documents. And just out of curiosity, this isn't really a trick question, but would you happen to know how many, given the size of our government and number of documents that exist in our government, if you had to guess, how many original classifiers do you think there were?
Yeah, I have no idea.
In our government?
No idea.
4,000.
4,000.
4,000.
Yeah.
And you think about that number, and there's trillions of documents in our government, right? Anyway, I just wanted to test your knowledge of the classification process.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. Thanks, Frank. Frank's from Evergreen. His line's going to be open 303-696-1971. We're going to Bruce from Denver. Bruce, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning. I want to address the classification, the classified documents issue.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Setting aside any sort of comparison between Biden and Trump, I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, based upon what I've read, and I understand he has not been tried, much less convicted, of the classified documents mishandling, and I'll use that in broad context.
Mm-hmm.
I commend to you to Google Christian Saucier, Kristian, last name Aucier.
Okay.
And just to save a little time, because I'll bet you won't do that, this is a young man who back in 2015, maybe earlier than that, took pictures in the nuclear and engineering spaces of a submarine. He was found to have done that. He was convicted. He was sentenced to 1 year of prison time, which he served. He could have been sentenced to 5 to 7 years, but the judge, I guess he was allowed to reduce the sentencing to 1 year because it made a fundamental mistake.
Yeah,
actually, that's paraphrased, not a direct quote. But my point out of that is, if equal standards are applied, assuming what Donald Trump did and is accurate, and I think there really is no doubt. I mean, storing highly classified information in his bathroom is just a tad bit out of the realm of reasonability.
Well, he does have a certain role. He's the
jail.
commander-in-chief.
Pardon me?
He does serve a different role than the guy in the submarine. He's the commander-in-chief.
He still mishandled classified documents.
And he wasn't commander-in-chief when he was living in Mar-a-Lago, where they found the documents. He wasn't president at that time.
Bill, all of your points are absolutely accurate. He can't just think in his brain that the documents are classified.
So what's the process to declassify them?
I do not doubt that he had the authority while commander-in-chief to declassify pretty much whatever he wants, setting aside the stupidity of that act. He had the authority to do that while he was commander-in-chief.
So now, do you guys
not follow? Excuse me,
Bruce? Now hold on. No, you're calling in on our show, Bruce. So do you see how we've moved now? So from at first it was there's classified documents. Donald Trump has classified documents too. Yeah, we don't really know the process by which we should declassify them, or the commander-in-chief should. But now he's not president. Now he's not president, and he has them, and he should have turned them back. This whole thing is a moving target. I appreciate the call, Bruce. Bruce is
a moving target. It's very simple.
It's absolutely a moving target because we keep slapping down your arguments.
No, not at all. Because here's the thing: you still have no response to the fact that Donald Trump said, "No, they're mine. You can't have them back." And they're not his personal property. And we have no indication he ever declassified any of them. And even if he thinks it in his mind, it doesn't matter. And the reason why that's a dangerous premise is because as soon as he does, we have access to all of those. If he truly believes that he declassified every single one of those documents he had in Mar-a-Lago, why didn't he release them? Why didn't he let us see them? Because we should be able to.
He doesn't have to.
No,
he doesn't have to do
we should be able to see them, and we should be able to Freedom of Information Act request them. That's what happens when they fall under the declassification process. So if the idea is that he has all this classified information and then he magically declassifies it so you and I can see it, we need to see that. But the issue is the charges that Donald Trump is facing are not the same as Biden's. The charges are he ignored the subpoena by retaining government documents he had no right to have as private citizen Trump. As soon as we get through January 20th and there's an inauguration, all of the magical powers that Donald Trump has as commander-in-chief evaporate, and he becomes regular citizen Donald Trump. He no longer gets to have those classified documents. He no longer can declassify them. He doesn't get to keep them. And no, Biden shouldn't keep them either. And that is the same. The difference is when asked, Biden, Pence, everybody else so far has said, come and get them, where Donald Trump has engaged in a scheme in order to hide them and retain them. And that's what we have so far as alleged testimony. A scheme. He's asking them to erase security footage. He's moving them around the club. He's asking his lawyers, can't they just disappear? The lawyer describes him reaching fake into a document and taking it out and just making it go away, as if he's asking the lawyers. No, that is the testimony we have, though, from Trump's lawyers. We have the testimony from the lawyers. That's important. That's an important thing when the lawyer is telling you, I'm in this meeting and Donald Trump is asking me to hide the documents. That's different. That's a different level.
No,
and that's
you guys keep moving it. You keep moving. Let's go to Jim in Denver. Jim, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, good morning, guys. No matter what happened with the classification, declassification process, I guarantee you that mind reading was not a part of that process. Okay, there's something that has to happen to safeguard the nation. And when you take a vow to the Constitution, you're there to protect the people of this nation. I think that it's a real thing now that we are, normally we want to reduce the number of voters on our opposing political party, but we're running the risk of reducing the voters in our own political party with by saying that Donald Trump can do no wrong. And if we really think that a Manhattan businessman who's gone bankrupt and needed government bankruptcy protection for each of his business ventures, whenever the free markets got within arm's length, we might be a little misguided. But you know what? Everybody in the country has been voting. So the voting has gone sky high, and we have elected nothing but Democrats for the last 3 cycles. And I think we're taking a chance by giving the option to this guy to even run again.
Well, it's too late at that point. Jim, he's already the nominee. This is it. As of yesterday, this is Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. Yep. We're redoing this all again. So that point is moot in my point. My point is, point is moot. Trump. He is the nominee. Put on the jersey, go defend the guy, and stop Joe Biden from having another 4 years in office. He's going to ruin this country.
Donald Trump gave us Joe Biden. The one and only reason why Joe Biden.
Barack Obama gave us Joe Biden. What are you talking about?
No, you're absolutely wrong. Joe Biden was in the rest home. They pulled him out of the rest home and made him the sacrificial lamb up against Donald Trump. And you know what? Just like they pulled
Donald Trump gave us Joe Biden. You guys blame everything. You guys have such true Trump derangement syndrome. We're gonna blame on Donald Trump for all of Joe Biden's faults, and the reason this country is so bad is Donald Trump's fault.
You convinced me, Jeff. Manhattan Jesus saves. I'm gonna get the hat.
Jeez, man, you guys
that was really good.
Thanks, guys, for convincing me. You changed my mind, Jeff.
That was really good.
Pray about it.
I'd like to see Jim in that hat. Oh my gosh,
that was nice.
Joe Biden is the Donald Trump's the problem. We have Joe Biden.
The thing for me is I blame us. We're the idiots voting, and yeah, we have chosen poorly last several cycles. Really, really poorly. That's on us. That's for me is, it's the idea that we have people here calling in, they're taking different sides and text us that are asking us about the declassification. And it's interesting because I keep hearing a lot of people that are using their own politics to determine their truth, which is really interesting. And here's something that, we'll save it. We'll save it for next hour. Next hour, there's something that I noticed is contained in Hur's report that almost nobody talked about. I spent some time yesterday in conservative media, spent some time in liberal media, and nobody was talking about it. And I think it is a very, very interesting thing that one particular representative did and had a conversation with Robert Hur. We'll discuss that next hour.
All about that.
It changes changes everything because it exposes the open and naked politics on both sides. Because for me, it ties a bow on what Robert Hur was really saying inside of that report, and it's in his own words.
Ooh, way to go! I'm definitely sticking around for that. That's great.
Well, you have to. They pay to be here.
You're losing your hair. You need a simple solution that works. You want the best modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration from the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, or thinning hair, address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments, and get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair, and I highly recommend their team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you also get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that's redefined hair restoration. 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. Your calls and texts next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Whole lot of text messages on this debate. Trump was president when he took the docs with him. Biden was a senator.
Matter, and it doesn't matter. As soon as he's out of office, his powers evaporate. Doesn't matter. It doesn't clear him of it if he's the president and takes them.
So your real issue is the Presidential Records Act. I think that's where my issue lies too.
My issue is the fact that he ignored a subpoena. That's where we get into the real criminality. Because if we want to go ahead and charge,
left never subpoenas people just for political reasons.
But that's the FBI is asking for the documents back, and that's an issue. And so that's one that you do not defy. I mean, I can tell congressional subpoenas are worthless, but still, I mean, we're talking about real ones. And that's the difference for me. If we want to charge Biden, if we want to charge Trump for just possessing them, we want to charge Clinton, we want to charge Obama, we want to charge Bushes, we want to charge, fine, I'm in. I'm on that train. But remember, if you want to charge Biden for what happened, Trump gets more charges too. That's how it works.
No,
yes, he does.
President of the United States.
Not right now. Not when he was in Mar-a-Lago. He wasn't. Not at all.
All right, and we're just going to keep doing this, aren't we? All the way to the 9 o'clock hour.
And they turn us off. Yeah.
All right, we'll get right back with you. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's been a wild one this Wednesday morning, March 13th on the Jeff and Bill Show, debating everything from Ken Buck leaving Congress to the Hur testimony. Yeah. And now we're going to get to TikTok. But before we do that, because this is breaking on Drudge right now. House passed TikTok kill bill. Let's you wanted to say something about the testimony on the Hur testimony.
Yeah, let's do that. Since we're going to go to the tickety talks, we're going to. Yeah, this is the thing. I for 20 hours, I didn't get a chance to hear everything. I didn't get a chance to absorb everything on both liberal and conservative media. But there was one particular piece that I didn't hear repeated over and over. I heard a lot of other clips, but there's one question from Representative Dean to Robert Hur that is really interesting. And I call back to Matt Gaetz earlier in the audio we played, where he claims that Joe Biden hadn't read the full testimony and the full report from Robert Hur.
Yeah.
I argue Matt Gaetz hasn't read the testimony.
Not a chance.
Because he obviously didn't make it to page 11. Let me demonstrate as to how little Matt Gaetz probably, in my opinion, read of
Not
the...
a chance.
Yeah. Here's what happened with Representative Dean yesterday.
That was not the case with Donald Trump. You have a copy of your report today, don't you, in front of you?
I do.
Would you read a portion of it for me? Your words, it is page 11, starting on line 3, beginning with the words, unlike the evidence involving Mr. Biden. Would you read the next few sentences?
Unlike the evidence involving Mr. Biden, the allegations set forth in the indictment of Mr. Trump, if proven, would present serious aggravating facts.
Keep going.
Congresswoman, I'm happy to have you read the words in my report.
Well, it's your report, so I think it actually is more fitting that you read those.
Most notably, after being given multiple chances to return classified documents and avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the opposite.
Keep going.
According to the indictment, he not only refused to return the documents for many months, but he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to destroy evidence and then to lie about it.
You may stop there.
Ta-da! That's the difference.
Oh,
but
no,
nobody
the
played that.
Democrats.
No, but the issue is that's the difference. But the problem that I've got, and the only reason I bring that up is nobody played that yesterday. Nobody that I heard talking about
I saw
it.
Democrats posting that.
Yeah,
But,
I saw Democrats posting it.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the media environment. That was
Right.
my criticism on this, is that I heard a lot of talk on both liberal and conservative media, and that question seems to be very important in all of the conversations they were having, yet nobody did. Nobody referenced it. Nobody had it. Nobody, in my opinion, some didn't even know it existed. And I heard all these conversations with all these media personalities. And I'm going, you guys didn't hear that, did you?
I mean,
you didn't make it to page 11.
Yeah,
you didn't make it to page 11 on the report.
It's definitely a strong line. I'll give you that. But I think a lot of people, like myself included, go, okay, so we're having this report about Joe Biden and his classified documents. But what Trump did was way worse. Let's go over and talk about Trump. No,
the issue
let's
is
talk
this.
about what Joe Biden did.
And we can talk about what Joe Biden did. But the important thing is,
You just talked about what Donald Trump did.
This is why it's important. Inside of Hur's report,
yes,
early on, page.
It's actually twice. It's in there twice.
Yeah, but it's bottom of page 10 into page 11.
Yes.
Real early on, he says, here's the difference in the two cases.
Yes.
He says it. And then after the testimony, we get people on the left and on the right running around going, they're the same. I'm like, he tells you why they're different. He outlines it directly. And that's why you listen to this show, because we bring you that. We're going to bring you those things. That's why you're here. We're not going to sit here and be cheerleaders for one side or the other. We are going to call balls and strikes, and we're going to call warts. And sometimes they're on each other. But yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. So we don't talk TikTok.
Thanks. Thanks, Bill. Let's go to the news with Blake Olson.
All right, guys. Great show. 41 cloudy in Denver as the Front Range prepares for the snowstorm tonight. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the House is passing a bill that will force the sale or a nationwide ban on TikTok. Wisconsin's Mike Gallagher on the House floor.
TikTok is a threat to our national security because it is owned by ByteDance, which does the bidding of the Chinese Communist Party. We know this because ByteDance leadership says so, and because Chinese law requires it.
Okay, that happening just a few minutes ago. A lot of conservatives would like to ban Congressman Ken Buck from talking at all. He turned his back on his responsibilities and announced he's leaving early, costing taxpayers a lot of money.
But a lot of this is personal. That's the problem. Instead of having decorum, instead of operating in a professional manner, this place has just evolved into this bickering and nonsense, and not really doing the job for the American people.
Like fulfilling your obligation. I like Brian, the patriotic voter and caller.
You know, eventually you become a swamp monster and you end up padding your pockets. Either they have dirt on Ken, someone has dirt on Ken, or Ken is selling out for money.
President Biden and former President Trump have officially clinched their respective parties' nomination. And Tuesday, Vice President Kamala Harris inspired a handful of people in Denver. Oh, it froze. I need to hear this inspiration. Here it is. Here we go.
Has openly vowed to carry out, quote, and I'm quoting, the largest domestic, not democratic at all. Was a typo. The largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
Oh,
I love the fact that you said that she was being inspiring, and then there was nothing. That was better. That was fantastic. I love that.
They don't like to
the best part.
vocalize it.
That was
They
great.
can feel it in their hearts.
Yes, if they believe enough, then it happens.
Yes, exactly. RFK Jr. says he's considering New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers for VP as he runs for president. As an independent, Rodgers used common sense during the pandemic and avoided the jab. Author columnist Mitch Albom and his wife are among 10 people rescued in Haiti as gangs take over Port-au-Prince. Albom has an orphanage there. It is 39 in Littleton, 37 in Lakewood, 41 in Denver. And let's see, the Nuggets going for 4 straight. Tonight, they take on the Heat in an early game here in the Mile High City. You'll be able to see it in the Mile High City. It's in South Beach. Avalanche defeated the Flames 6-2. And CSU in the Mountain West Conference tourney today, tip-off 2:30 against San Jose State. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
All right, we got some puppy updates.
Ooh,
you ready for this?
Oh, it's the best part of the morning when you get to hear about the puppies. Yes.
All right. So I announced this earlier at the 6 o'clock hour that we are in puppy watch at the Hunt House. And we've had 1 girl born so far.
Hey, all right. Congratulations.
Yeah. So I'm actually watching on my cam right now.
Yeah. Wow.
You can watch my wife.
Jeez.
She's there helping.
Now, there's I'm not going to offend you, the listener, right now. So make your own joke about adult entertainment in Germany right now amongst yourselves. Just complete the joke. All righty. Thanks. I appreciate that.
So we have Colorado Mountain Dogs, and we have 4 of them.
So what is a Colorado Mountain Dog? Give me again just a primer, and what do they look like, size? Let me imagine what we're talking about.
Colorado Mountain Dogs are a relatively new breed. They began in 2008 in Colorado with a single dog named Caspian, who has a lot of crossover with the Great Pyrenees. They are working dogs. They are guardian livestock dogs. They live out in the fields.
So unlike our children, they work
right
and have a purpose.
And unlike our children, they live outside.
Exactly. I've been trying to get that. My wife's not there yet.
Right. Not quite.
I'm willing.
You're not quite the
willing,
Robinson family?
Yes, I'm willing to do tents and maybe those little playhouses. I'm willing.
Treehouse would be cool.
Exactly.
So they live out with goats and sheep and chickens and all that stuff, and they protect them from predators. And we raise them and we sell them to ranches all throughout the Western United States, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, and they go live wonderful lives. They live outside, they get to play, they have fun all day, and they're very family friendly dogs. So the what's unique about the breed is that they're guardian dogs. So the minute like a coyote or something pops onto the ranch, ears perked up, going crazy, notifying everybody, running around, protecting, and then they'll roll right over for a belly rub for your kids. So great,
fantastic. Now, for imagery, Jeff has shared some pictures with me. Imagery. Remember old Looney Tunes, the sheepdog that was going with it. It's kind of like that, but a shorter haircut. And but it's that kind of heavier white coat, a big dog, gorgeous dogs.
Very cool.
Thanks for the update.
Look like Great Pyrenees, but my wife texted me, first one's been born, and it's a girl.
Oh, that's wonderful.
She stayed up all night last night. My wife is like a midwife to these dogs.
I'm glad you used the right term.
Care of them. I know.
We heard about that earlier. Wrong term yesterday.
I go home yesterday, and
Jeff
she's
got in
like,
trouble.
"You said I was a wet nurse, Jeff. Do you know what a wet nurse does?" And I was like, "No, I don't really." And she's like, "Jeff, they provide nutrients to the baby. I don't do that for dogs. I'm there."
And we can all in our mind see Jeff's beautiful wife standing in front of him and with her arms crossed and then tilting her head a little bit going, do you know? That's exactly what happened.
So little girl born at the Hunt Family
wonderful.
Ranch this morning.
Fantastic.
And
Can't
we're
wait to hear the
expecting
update
4 or
tomorrow.
5 more. So
Got to tell us tomorrow morning.
I want to address this text message here. I was out of town. I'm back in. And when did this become the Jeff and Kyle Clark show? This is not fair to Bill. Because until Bill shoots me in the face,
that's true.
It's not the Kyle Clark show.
Yeah, and he has much better hair. I want his hair. What happened? I mean,
I want to be a media personality where the media company shoots an opponent in the face and nobody loses their job.
Oh, yes. That's what I need.
Cow.
I need that. I also want his wardrobe. Just that he's got to have a nice. I mean, I see those jackets sometimes. Those are expensive. Even if he's only renting them, still, man, got to give him props for what he dresses like. That's good. And the hair. Super jealous. Losing my hair. Super jealous about his hair. He's got that Anchorman hair, and I dislike him deeply for that.
Do you know about advanced hair restoration?
I've heard someone talk about it on these airwaves.
We'll get to them in just a second. Lewis, Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Lewis.
Good morning.
Good morning, but it's Aurora, not Denver.
All right. We'll
your phone lied to us. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Wait, I got a question. Was her investigating Trump also?
No.
Nope.
Why did he include that portion in there? Where did he get that?
That's a really good point, Lewis.
Because he was going to be asked the question, what's the difference between Trump and Biden? And just like we've heard in the narrative.
He's not even investigating Trump.
No, but what he's doing, he's outlining the difference. He's outlining the difference in the two.
Yes. Why did he put it in his report if he wasn't investigating Trump?
I'm not trying to understand. Help me understand your point.
But to Lewis's point here is Robert Hur has no knowledge of the investigation into Trump other than what's been out there in the news, and yet includes it in his report.
But he read the filings that are public that everybody else can read, and he included those in his report as a commentary on why they were different. Because oddly enough, it's almost as if he knew in advance that people are going to say they're the same. And he outlined, no, they're not. Because he knew people would incorrectly draw the conclusion that they're the same. And he directly says they are not the same.
That is wrong. He should have not included it in the report. Just like the Democrats are saying about when he included that Biden, well, he has memory problem. Remember, you know how much they're shouting about that. So it was wrong for him to put it in that report. He should have put it on the side and have asked, wait, do you think that Biden and Trump, this situation, then he could set it on the side, but not in his report. I've done investigations, 40 years in law enforcement. I would not have put that in a report.
That's a good point, Lewis.
That was wrong.
It's a good point, but I still think that in the hearings, someone would have said, "Well, if it was that important, why didn't you put it in the report?" I still think that would have been the thrust, and that's why I did it.
Lewis, you got agreement on the text message line.
Point,
people going exactly. Appreciate the call, Lewis from Aurora. His line's open 303-696-1971. Let me tell you why you should call Mitch Floria and the Art of Granite to put together the perfect kitchen or bathroom remodel for you. Quality craftsmanship. Mitch is such an expert and craftsman that he can turn granite, quartz, marble, and other materials into a true work of art right in your home. Superior service from single residential installations to large-scale projects. Mitch and his team's attention to detail is unmatched. They will listen to you and get you what you need. Great value. Mitch provides granite from his own warehouse in Denver West at wholesale prices with no markup, so you can get the most for your budget. Mention KNUS and receive a bathroom countertop free with the purchase of your fantastic new kitchen countertops, or get a kitchen or bathroom sink free with the purchase of any countertop package. Schedule a consultation with Mitch and visit his beautiful showroom in Denver West, or call Mitch at 303-386-5919. That's 303-386-5919. Or you can visit his website at theartofgranite.com to start dreaming about your new countertops. That's theartofgranite.com. All right, breaking news.
I do something here. Hang on a second.
Go ahead.
A second ago, while you're doing that, and we may involve the listener, you, the listener, here in a little bit, because I've got an idea. I keep getting these phone calls talking to me about my Google Voice business listing or something. So this is just for the listener, for you, the listener. I want you to think about this. We're going to do this in the future. What should our business be? Because soon I'm going to take them up on the offer.
There you go.
And we are going to have a business listing, but I've got to figure out what that business listing. So we're going to play this game later, not today. It'll be later on, but I want to have a response for the recorded person that calls in and says, we got to figure out a business. So on a side note, that's homework for later.
Here's an interesting side note on that.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Yes.
So I ran a
tangents.
Google certified business. I was certified by Google.
Wow.
I was a Google AdWords programmer, and we ran a digital ad agency.
Does that involve a blood test and a body cavity search?
It requires some crazy amount of exams. I will tell you that. So then I would get those calls. We get those calls. And I know for a fact that as a Google certified advertising business, you can never promise anybody a listing on the top page of Google. It's like the first question, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Can you promise your clients a first page listing on Google? You're not allowed to do that. It's an organic algorithm that's developed. You can never promise that. So then they would call me and promise me that. And I would go down the rabbit hole with them a little bit, like come up with fake businesses. Like yesterday, I got called for solar roofs on my house. And they go, how do you currently power your house? And I said, we have a donkey out back that walks in a circle.
Excellent. Yay. That's why that is why we are friends. That is exactly why we are friends. Because I love you for that.
And half the time, I just hand the phone to my kids.
Yes.
Because it's built-in prank phone calls.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Right? Like we used to actually have to figure out, call a 7-Eleven and call another 7-Eleven and put them together and let them talk to each other. But they now call you.
Yes. They ask you to make fun of them. They say, hi, can you taunt me? Well, I have someone here that's good at it.
So I would go down that, and then I'd say, well, do you know, I actually work with Google. I have a direct line to Google, and you're not allowed to do what you're promising to do.
Gosh.
And then click off they go and run away.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But that's my little public service announcement. If you ever get a call on Google and they promise like, oh yeah, we'll put you on the first page. You just got to pay us $250 there.
Have fun. We got to invent a business. I got to do this. We got to do this. Okay, sorry. Now you have breaking news for us. I apologize for the diversion.
All right. House has passed a bill that's going to essentially shut down TikTok beginning likely this August. Okay. House, this is CNBC reporting, top of Drudge right now. House passes bill that could lead to a TikTok ban. Fight now shifts to the Senate. Why this is important is not only do all your kids probably have this app on your phone, and they shouldn't. This is like bipartisan. Like everyone's looked at this and they're like, oh my gosh, we just gave the Chinese government full access to everything in our house. They shouldn't have this, but Donald Trump is coming out against this bill. Did you know that? I didn't know that. So the House approved the legislation today dubbed the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act that calls for China tech giant ByteDance to divest TikTok, or the popular social video app will effectively be banned in the United States. The bill now heads to the Senate, where it faces an uncertain future as senators appear divided on the legislation. Rand Paul doesn't like this because he doesn't like the government get involved in telling companies what to do. But there's some real national security issues here. The House approved the bill Wednesday that calls for China tech ByteDance to divest TikTok, or the popular social video app will effectively be banned in the United States. The measure passed with a resounding 352 to 65 vote, and with one member voting present. The legislation, dubbed the Protecting Americas for Foreign Advisory Act, as I've already read, was introduced March 5th in a bipartisan way. So Republicans and Democrats doing this. The House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party was the committee where this was introduced. So this is really about dealing with the Chinese Communist Party. 2 days later, House members of the Energy and Commerce Committee voted unanimously to approve the bill, which refers to TikTok as a threat to national security because it is controlled by a foreign adversary. And I've seen videos of this where it's not just about the fact that it can get in, but it can actually use and access the Wi-Fi in your house and then gain access to other applications, other products you have in your house. So it really is opening up just about anything connected to Wi-Fi to Chinese government.
It's Alexa.
Yeah, right.
That's basically what it is. Alexa.
Yeah. The bill heads now to the Senate, but Donald Trump came out against it. He wasn't able to sway the Republicans. Okay. Former President Trump has reversed course and is now opposes a ban on social media giant TikTok, but his new stance was not able to sway fellow Republicans. And this was Chip Roy in his response to Donald Trump. He's just wrong. And by the way, he had his own executive orders and his own actions that he was doing, but now he's all of a sudden flipped on this. So Chip Roy kind of pushing back on Donald Trump. It's not going to be the first or last time I disagree with the former president, but the TikTok issue is pretty straightforward. Even other ones out of Florida saying, I have respect and admiration for President Trump, but nobody controls this vote. He doesn't control my vote on this particular issue. TikTok will have to make a choice as to whether or not to stay connected to ByteDance and ultimately controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, or if they choose to sell and operate in the United States. So that's the choice that'll be coming up here. FBI Director Christopher Wray and lawmakers in both parties say that they view TikTok as a national security threat. Specifically, they're concerned that the Chinese government could use TikTok to access personal data for more than 150 million users and algorithms. Now, Joe Biden said he will sign this, but in the meantime, has his own official TikTok account created.
Of course he does.
So there you go.
Of course. It's the idea of those rules are for all the rest of y'all. No, not for me. Again, have you seen the Joe Biden TikTok account?
No.
Oh, don't.
I don't have TikTok. I did at one point, but I deleted it.
No, I got it's not good. It's not good. He looks like a fool. Again, not a surprise. Not a surprise, but it's not good. It's not good branding. The thing for me on this one, I understand, but I keep looking at it thinking that the fall of democracy is going to be because of online stupid challenges and dancing.
I think it's more than that, though, even as it relates to what's being promoted in America. So you've seen a lot of evidences that the Chinese have been posting and promoting anti-Semitism content in America against the Jews.
Oh yeah, they're trying to. I mean, it's all of our adversaries do that, and we have a tendency to do that as well. In their stuff, we tend to play that way. The part for me is that I understand the security issue about it, and I understand that we are super worried about China having access to private information about us, the U.S. citizens. But have you met us? Have you spent any time hanging out with us? Protecting our privacy isn't exactly what we do. I mean, here's an example, okay? You and I could walk outside the studio, and we could run into the listener, and we could offer you, the listener, free tickets to the next Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure that listener is going to give us their bank account, birthday. Hell, they'll tell us who they lost their virginity to just to get to the Super Bowl. So the idea that we're like, oh, it's my private information. We give it away for free movie tickets. So I get it. I understand. But once we are better with our personal information, I think then we can be angry about other people having access to our personal information. We just don't seem to care at this point. So I think this is, again, a little performative.
So personal information, I know this is someone who ran a digital ad agency for a few years. So what Facebook tapped into were data sets from Epsilon and groups like that. So all your credit card information was overlaid on your Facebook account. So at one point as an ad programmer, I could be like, I want to sell this product to moms who drive Toyota Camrys and buy Cheerios for their toddlers.
And
I
talk
could
to me.
be that close into it.
And tell me why that is an advantage for you, the advertiser.
No ad waste.
Yeah, and that
bye ad waste.
And that's why the company's providing it, because you're super targeting who your potential customer is. Okay, continue.
And it killed off, mass broadcasting, right? So all that digital, because my ad waste as a client was gone. But I think I've seen that rolled back. I've seen Facebook roll back its targeting options. Like, for instance, I can't target conservatives anymore with my advertisements.
Interesting.
I can target people who follow Donald Trump. I can target those types of people, but I cannot I used to just be able to on Facebook go, I just want conservatives to see this. I ran the Western Conservative Summit. Why would I advertise the liberals? They're not going to buy them. They're definitely not going to spend $250 to come spend a weekend with conservatives.
And they're not sharing the info, which helps. They're not helping me market. There's no way they're going, hey, Jill, have you seen this?
So
Nobody's doing that.
I have seen Americans pull back on this and go, maybe it's not good that you know everything about me and can micro target that way. But here's Rand Paul's critique of this. He's saying that we're essentially going to really defeat the Chinese communists by becoming Chinese authoritarians and banning it in our country. TikTok is banned in China. So we're going to emulate the Chinese communists by banning it in our country.
Yeah. That is one of the ones, and I rarely agree with Mr. Paul, but I'm on board with this one. I think he's right on. And the problem I have is telling the company, no, you have to sell to an American entity.
Right.
And what I want to know is, let's say that one of our companies, I don't know, who does a lot of business in China? Apple. Yes. What if China came to the Apple conglomerate inside of China and said, no, you have to sell all of these companies, all this production arms, all of that, you have to sell that to a Chinese entity, and we get to keep all of it. What would you think? I mean, how would we view that from China? And yet that's kind of what we're doing. The idea that you have to sell it to an American company seems awfully jingoistic and awfully narcissistic and incredibly selfish.
But does this app pose a real national security threat, though? Yeah. It seems like Republicans and Democrats have agreed on that.
Well, I can see it being a risk. I'm not certain about a national security risk because I don't know the people that are using TikTok. I'm unclear how many of them have access to the really super secure information. And this hurts me to say this, but considering our last couple hours talking about how well we take care of our classified information, we're just spot on that one. We're doing a great job keeping our secret stuff secret. But it is maybe if you're going to give somebody the secret classification rules, you can do this. You can go see the secret stuff in the skiff and you get the magic powers.
Part of what's
maybe you don't get to have TikTok. Maybe you don't get to have that on your phone. Maybe it's checked. I don't know.
Part of what's interesting about this is when Donald Trump was president, he signed an executive order to ban TikTok unless it was acquired by an American company. But the order never went into effect after it was challenged in federal court.
Yeah.
But now Trump, this is Time reporting, but now Trump sees some utility in helping to keep TikTok around. Oh my gosh, get the word right. Especially after President Joe Biden said he would sign the bill into law. Frankly, there are a lot of people on TikTok that love it, he told CNBC. There are a lot of young kids on TikTok who will go crazy without it. So it seems like this has become an election move.
Yes, it has. And you know that at least 50% of what Trump is saying is simply because Joe Biden's on the other side. 50% of it.
I feel like that's most of Americans.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do too. I do. And it's interesting. I also feel that this gives him the ability to play both sides, to say, no, whatever you believe, I have believed it too, because I've taken both sides on these issues. So whatever you want, I'm your guy. I think it covers him that way too.
Some good text messages here. TikTok will go the way of Vines. I loved Vines. I wish we still had Vines.
Yeah.
Vines were fun. The law of unintended consequences will take place here. It provides a false sense of security.
Yeah, I would agree. And also it opens up the idea that our allies and or adversaries can force our companies or entities in their country to sell to someone there. So that's interesting.
So what do you do with the fact that China can now adjust the algorithm and essentially interfere with an election?
Yeah. Most social media can do that in any way, shape, or form, though, too. and they can, and even outside actors can. Yeah, and even outside actors do that type of information. The problem is, rather than just TikTok, it's just social media, the social media ecosystem, which is strange because I've oftentimes in the last 6-7 months gone back to Bill Gates when we were just at the advent of the internet, and he was talking about how it's going to be this wonderful sharing of knowledge, and you're going to be able to have access to knowledge and books and research from all over the planet.
Do you not know human nature?
Yeah, and he didn't talk anything about the fact that we were going to share cat pictures and then poop on each other. I mean, that's basically
And
what
a lot
social media
worse.
is. Yeah,
And a lot worse.
it's just awful.
Well, speaking of a kinder, gentler world, we all want to experience a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and to overcome pain. I'm thriving and fighting back my workout soreness with UltraCur. UltraCur is a patented, non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. Surveys show that 50% of people using UltraCur find relief within 48 hours, and half of those within 2 hours. Experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro natural grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. UltraCur is fueled by a patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. If you've tried everything without much success, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try UltraCur today. Give UltraCur a try because it gives you unique control over your daily wellness. It's gentle on your stomach, and it's a natural antioxidant. Get curious, Denver. Head to the natural grocers. Grab your free 3-day UltraCur trial. No strings attached. Wondering about the research? Get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. We'll get to your calls and texts next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. President Biden and former President Trump have become their party's official nominees after coming out on top in the latest round of primaries. Both candidates focused their attention on the swing state of Georgia, which looms large in November's general election. Ira Spitzer reports.
Both Donald Trump and Joe Biden visited Georgia in advance of the primary election, a sign that for both men, this is an important prize in November's general election. It's a state that Biden won by just 12,000 votes in 2020, and a state in which Trump is facing legal charges stemming from his refusal to accept Georgia's election results. Trump is seeking to contain any fallout from that dispute, which divided Georgia Republicans. And for President Biden, convincing the state's Democrats to turn out in November is going to be crucial, given what will likely be a very close election. Reporting in San Francisco, Ira Spitzer, Salem News Channel.
$300 million worth of weapons and military equipment will be sent from the US to Ukraine. The White House says the shipment is badly needed to help counter Russian forces who have recently made strategic gains in the country. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
All right, you got some for a little bit longer. It's going to be a high of 50, but the rain's going to start later this evening, and then heavy snow all day tomorrow till Friday morning, expecting lots of snow, 12 to 18 inches. So get ready. It's going to be that heavy wet snow, too, that just breaks all those tree branches.
Yuck. Are you getting ready, or are your kids getting ready?
We don't have any trees out there.
No.
We're out on the plains, so that's one thing but they don't plow roads in Elbert County. I think that they plow roads, but not by us.
No, not on you. Not when you're that far away. They don't do that one.
And we don't pay the taxes for it, which I love.
That's great. That is good. Ours, we're getting ready. We're kind of doing a game plan as far as, what happens if things are being canceled and stuff tomorrow. However, that right here in the studio, friend of yours and mine, Mark Crowley, friend of the show, has been working on a plan to make sure that nobody has to be here tomorrow to run the video.
Oh, okay.
We still have to be here. So you see how this is working? Mark has figured out a way that he can be at home and do the job, and you and I still fighting the snow. It shows where we rank, honestly. I mean, because they're like, those two guys, they can make it. And everybody else, stay home, stay out. Do not risk your life and limb to get through the snow. You guys.
And he's got a beautiful dog. Maybe some dog mushing, dog.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Dog sledding out here.
Yeah, Riley, Riley.
Riley will get us here.
Beautiful dog and so smart. Love Riley.
Do you remember those dogs that had like the big barrels?
Oh, yeah, the St. Bernards.
St. Bernards.
Yeah,
so like if you were stuck in the snow, they'd have some water for you and stuff like that.
Now, had a friend I knew in high school that had some of them growing up. They're a little moist. And what I'm saying is they drool a lot.
Drooling?
Oh, all the time. And it was one of those things where they would come up and it'd jump next to you on the couch or something and say hi. They also had Newfoundlands. And then the thing would come over and nuzzle against you. And you're like, it looks like I just snotted all over my shirt. I mean, and what do you do with that? You can't explain to somebody, no, sorry, that's dog slobber. And then they look at you as if it's better.
So the House, the breaking news today at top of Drudge right now, the House of Representatives has passed a bill to essentially ban TikTok moving forward if they don't sell the component of TikTok that's controlled by the Chinese Communist Party and the government here in America. So
how am I going to know when it's time for me to start eating more detergent as a challenge?
Right.
When? How can I find out when it's going to be okay for me to jump out of a moving car? For the TikTok, for the views.
Well, here's the concern. It's a little more nefarious than that. One is that the Chinese Communist Party can get access to personal data. So your own personal data. That's number one. Two, they could actually, through your Wi-Fi, get control to other your laptop, other things in your house. So bad news there. But then three.
Well, only if you don't clear your browser history. Just saying. Watching out for you.
Right.
Sorry. I had to do
that. And then three is the promotion of material that could be really, really bad. So don't think pornography. Think a bunch of anti-Semitic comments and videos being essentially pushed upon American children to turn them against the Jews. I mean, it's or interfere with an election, or allow basically a hostile company or actor to speak into our election. Here's the flip side of this, right? Once you open up one app, and this is a text message here, once you open up one app to forced government sale, especially social media apps, where will it go? And it will probably be abused on precedent. I think that's a fair critique. That's the Rand Paul critique.
Yeah. And I think it is a fair critique, because how do you stop? And if it's the idea that because it's owned by a foreign entity, that then it becomes a threat, that becomes a little different, because technically, that whole Honda Corporation, they're a threat. They're owned by the Japanese. They bombed us once. We need to take control of that. That's what we need to do. I just think that it opens up the idea that we can force companies to sell to Americans. And if we think that is the process that needs to take place, both our allies and our adversaries are going to force us to sell. And we already know the Chinese play dirty. We know that in order to do business there, you have to give the government access to some of your intellectual property.
The Chinese government from influencing an election when they're already promoting this type of material through their platform?
No, part of it would be do things like, oh, this stinks because we aren't in favor of this, where we're totally not in favor of the government reaching out to the platforms and giving them warnings. Because, according to Elon Musk and his big brain, that's a no-no and naughty and a violation of free speech for telling people about that. So we obviously can't have the government tell you that things were happening. The thing for me is competition. Build something better. Do that. If it's really about the idea that America doesn't control this and we need to have America and have the kids on it, then build a better one. That's the core of it, rather than trying to shut it down. Or you're going to have some sort of a flag system in place. And I would not trust TikTok to do that necessarily. I don't want the government to come in and have a mechanism to flag things, but there has to be communication between the two. And the more open that communication is great. I would love to have the government go to TikTok and say, hey, we found this Chinese influence campaign and it is doing this, and here are the fake videos, and then asking TikTok to do something, and TikTok says, get bent. And then have the government come out and go, hi, guys, I just want to let you know we asked TikTok to do this. Here's what they're doing. Here's why this is. And here's the influence campaign. And then you start planting the seeds of distrust for TikTok. Give them the opportunity to correct. If not, make it public. But then again, we know how much we trust stuff from the government now. So
some good text messages here. I mean, pointing out that Instagram and Facebook, with all the Twitter files and all that, you saw that the government was utilizing social media to try to push things in their own direction anyways.
Here's the thing, though, is the Twitter files, we have to go back to, and again, when we talk about information that doesn't get out there, nobody talked about Matt Taibbi's tweet, what was it, 21, I think it is, 21, 22, in the series, where he says, in his own Twitter files, saying he sees no evidence that the government forced this cooperation to happen. He says they're all requests, and that's important because the narrative.
But it's requests between like-minded people. So we all got to stop Donald Trump. So social media is like, yeah, all right, let's do it.
Not
White House,
necessarily.
let's do it.
We didn't see any of that necessarily demonstrated on the efficacy of those requests. There was nothing inside the Twitter files where Twitter went, oh my God, look, the government's doing it. We're going to do it right now. In fact, we saw in the Twitter files them pushing back and not doing things for the government. And we also saw both the private Biden campaign and we saw the Trump campaign making dozens and dozens and dozens of requests of them as well to take things down. So, the Twitter files, again, that was a popcorn fart. It didn't prove anything as far as government manipulation. It showed that campaigns and people were reaching out.
I disagree with that. I think it absolutely showed that there can be collusion between like-minded individuals that want to utilize the power they've been given to go after their political.
But Matt Taibbi, who was one of the writers in the Twitter files, disagrees with that conclusion.
All right. Men, you've heard a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve your sleep, your workouts, your energy levels, and more. But I want to talk to you about your love drive, because low testosterone can have a significant impact on your desire for intimacy. And if you're in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, a low love drive can really be a problem. There's good news. Go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com and take the low T quiz on their website. It's a simple, just 10-question quiz with yes or no answers. It takes 2 minutes. Then schedule a consult with Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, a Colorado licensed medical provider. Will review your results with you and discuss your options. Cost of the appointment's only $99, and that includes a medical consult, T and PSA test. If you sign up for testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, well, the visit is free. Rocky Mountain's Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and successfully treated tens of thousands of men. I went over there, met with the guys, great operation they're running there, and men from all walks of life, from guys coming in for the working construction to guys in suits. So no matter where you are in your life, they could probably give you a hand. Call them today at 720-440-7900. That's 720-440-7900. Or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Tom Cotton is excited about this vote in the House of Representatives. He's been really fighting this TikTok thing for a long time. I just had his tweet. It was the fact that the Chinese Foreign Ministry is lashing out over the House TikTok bill ban tells you everything you need to know. A lot of people go back and forth on this.
Yeah,
so we have text messages that are essentially saying TikTok is unrestricted warfare by the CCP in China against Americans.
Yeah, for all the dance challenges. That's what they want. They're making us lose weight by doing the
I
dance
do.
things.
I mean,
and then eating all the Tide Pods.
Look,
that's what it was.
I think you're dismissing their ability to shape American thought through their
how
algorithm.
about we get rid of the dumb Americans by making them eat Tide Pods?
These are modern weapons of war. Modern social media exists to rig elections and manipulate useful idiot Americans.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have laughed that loud, but the idea of these are modern weapons of war. I just imagine what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a platoon of military members, and they're like, gentlemen, not guns today. No tanks, no planes. Everyone grab your cell phone. Open up the app to war. Okay.
It is propaganda. It is propaganda.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely propaganda. Absolutely is propaganda. But so many things. So many things. Even some of our
your natural libertarian nature is the government shouldn't step in and control companies like this.
Yeah, I have a problem for them stepping in and saying you have to sell to an American entity, X, Y, and Z. I have a real issue with that.
Should agree with Donald Trump on that.
Yeah. And if we want to, and that's one of the few times, but if we wanted to say things like, no, you can't do business in here, things like, but we already have them on the app stores and you've already allowed the download. That is something that should be adjudicated before you allow them to operate in the U.S. It's not as if TikTok came in and then all of a sudden it's like, shh, they don't know. Let's do this. There's a story about that with Motley Crue. Same old situation, that song. If you don't know what the subject of the song is, it's really quite naughty. But the record label came in and said, guys, we love this song. We're going to push it to the moon. Then we're going to go. And then, and then after the meeting, to a T, all the band members went, they don't know what the song's about, do they? No. Are you going to tell them? I'm not telling them. Are you going to tell them? I'm not telling them. Same thing. Same thing here with TikTok. The idea that we knew this beforehand. This was there beforehand.
If Iran showed up and said, this is the anti-infidels platform, social media platform, you'd be okay with keeping it out?
Well, if I can use it to get half off my McDonald's order every Wednesday, you might get me there. I still got the capitalist nature in me, so I get it.
Debate is now going to move to the Senate, and Donald Trump's not in favor of it. Rand Paul's not in favor of it, but this was overwhelmingly bipartisan in the House, and it seems to be one of those few things that Republicans and Democrats agree on, that TikTok is bad and maybe should be banned.
What does China do to us there? Because, they won't just be mad at us through the TikToks. Yeah, they're going to do propaganda. Right. But what do you think? What do you think the response is if we do this? What are they going to do to us?
We're going to have to discuss this all and more. Well, I just got notice from my wife. Puppy number 2 has been born.
Yay, congratulations.
It's a colorful male.
Ooh, we got to talk about this tomorrow morning. Update on the puppies.
We'll get updates on the puppy. And joining us tomorrow in the 9 o'clock hour, Brandon Straka from the founder of the Walkaway campaign.
Yeah,
encouraging liberals to leave the Democrat Party. Will be joining us tomorrow on the show.
Some of them listen to him, and we have no idea where they are now. They're in the woods somewhere.
They're out there making TikTok videos in the woods.
Just walking.
Charlie Kirk is up next. It's been wonderful to be with you all. Thanks for listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 CAN US. We'll see you tomorrow.